DRBMiller here. How are you guys doing? Thank you so much for joining me and for coming back to our Anthem feedback forum. As you know, our feedback forum is also our Q&A, and it's allocated here in order to provide us with space and time to discuss everything we've seen so far in Anthem during the VIP demo weekend, the weekend which has already gone, and now looking forward to the next one when we are going to be able to engage with this open demo for everyone, not just for everybody who has just pre-ordered. Thanks so much for coming in yesterday, and I'm very grateful for your comments and views. I did receive a number of messages, and there were some people asking about technical problems, whether I've heard anything about the work being done on them, whether the problems were experienced on all platforms, what platforms were doing better than others, and also there were some questions from people who actually missed on a demo, and basically they asked for me to introduce a bit more, to say a few more things about the game and everything we've experienced so far. So what we're going to do first of all today is I'll give a brief introduction, and this introduction will basically be focusing on the Anthem as game overall, then on its release date, on demos, gameplay, and also everything that we know so far. As you know, we had the privilege of participating in that VIP demo testing. We had 3 days of it, and there were lots and lots of technical problems which really affected our experience, and many people were very unhappy, particularly on Friday, because on Xbox they couldn't get in, and there were many login problems and various other technical issues which we were discussing in a week. So I really don't want to be going back to that. I want to be focusing on the beauty of the game, of the gameplay, of everything we've seen so far, of the indication what the story is going to be like, the experience of the visuals, and first of all the way we kind of embraced the open world, the way we immersed in those distant lands and planets, and then began to explore the enemies and tackle all the threats which were being posed out there. So that's going to be the focus of today's feedback, coming in with your concerns, views and experiences. I'm very grateful literally to everyone who had already contributed, because I was asking for my community members to come in with comments and views because I had been forwarding them to BioWare, and I'm very pleased to say that my postings on Twitter, which included feedback, then some screenshots and a selection of gameplay video clips, were very well received by BioWare team. I had some responses from Casey Hudson, who is the overall Anthem BioWare manager, general manager, and then I had some also responses from another producer, the lead producer, Sila Costa. So I was very glad to see that BioWare team were actually reading our messages and feedback which was given. As you know, that is fundamental when any game is evolving. The game already is at its very final stage, so this wasn't just like a beta testing a year before the release, but they were very, very interested to hear from everyone, and were very focused on our feedback as far as the multiplayer was concerned, because as you know, this is a major multiplayer game, and literally the first big one coming from BioWare. They're well known for fantastic RPGs such as Mass Effect Trilogy, Baldur's Gate, and Dragon Age, to name just a few. And they've not been really seen as the experts for multiplayer gaming, and this is the first major project that's incorporating basically the best of the two worlds, both the fantastic in-depth RPG with a massive multiplayer and a very, very vast open world. So all of that together so far has been experienced in that demo, and the experience was overwhelmingly very, very positive. And so yeah, what I'll do is I'll do just a brief introduction. After that, I'll give you the latest news which arrived to my desk today. Some of them are quite interesting. One of them in particular, which was triggered off by a few words yesterday coming from the executive of the live operations, Mr. Chad Robertson, and you'll be very, very interested to hear what I will have to say about that, because that is definitely going to be not just a taster, but a major magnet for everyone, those people who were there last weekend, and indeed many other gamers are still trying to find out what Anthem is about. So for those guys who have been emailing me and asking me to give again another introduction, I'll just run very quickly through some of the bits. So, I mean, first of all, Anthem was produced by BioWare. You know, BioWare is one of the biggest and the most successful game developers in the industry. Very well known for their fantastic RPG, Mass Effect Trilogy, one of my favorite games of all times, and also for Dragon Age, and for Baldur's Gate, and various other games such as Jade Empire on Xbox Original, to name just a few. And Anthem is the latest game from this massive big studio. And I can see that the message is already coming in. I will just ask you for a bit of patience. I will respond to the messages as soon as I go through the introduction. So, you know, I don't want to be cutting into the information which was requested by some of our community members. I can see that Mad Child is in here. Hello, how are you doing? Thanks very much for coming to my channel, for asking questions. I'll respond to you in a moment, but I'll have to go through the introduction first, so please bear with me for a little while. Anthem is the latest game from the fan-favorite RPG studio BioWare, and following in the footsteps of the studio's previous work, Anthem is a third-person action RPG, which we experienced during the weekend as we entered this VIP demo. The VIP demo was just for people who pre-ordered and those who are members of Origins, the special facility, premium facility offered by Electronic Arts, and therefore the actual pool of players was somewhat smaller to what we are likely to experience the next weekend. So, as a gamer, you will be playing a freelancer. A freelancer, I guess, is similar to what we have in Destiny as Guardian. Somebody who pilots an exosuit called a javelin suit. And that is in order to explore an alien world and defend its inhabitants from dangerous creatures and many wandering hostile marauders. And if you are interested in what these hostile marauders are like, then just visit my Twitter. On it, you will find a selection of video clips which I recorded during my gameplay on the weekend, and they are presenting a very, very clear picture of what hostilities we are likely to be contesting in that open world. Some of the enemies are very dangerous and they're very hard to kill. The others are menacing and annoying, but when you are combining your subclass superpowers together with the infinite weapon, and particularly your primary, your submachine gun and your pistols, then you are able to tackle them rather successfully. So remember, we are all in those javelin suits, we are freelancers, and we are out there exploring the alien world in order to defend its inhabitants from dangerous creatures and wandering hostile marauders. So as you know, the BioWare worked on the game already since the Mass Effect 2 project, and they really kind of made it public after Mass Effect 3, which was, if I'm not mistaken, in 2012. So the game's been really in development for very good 6 to 7 years. And it was first revealed at Microsoft's E3 2017 presentation. And then we had a follow-up during the acquired some 20 minutes of gameplay. And we had a lot more coming out of BioWare ever since. Excuse me. Since then, BioWare did release a lot of details concerning Anthem systems, and then a bit of gameplay footage which we watched during the E3 conference, and we had a chance basically to experience the gameplay and explore some of the RPG elements during the last weekend, which was terrific. Some of the leading video gaming magazines also had the chance to be participating in beta testing, and they were given the opportunity to sort of play a bit, and they were given just a taster of the actual gameplay, as you know, as it will come out in the game, and they were all very, very positive and very excited about what was to come. As you know, when the top echelons of the industry are offered those tasters, they're not playing against many other players, therefore they're unlikely to be experiencing any technical problems. They have plain sailing as far as the gameplay is concerned, and therefore they can simply enjoy whatever is offered by the developer. And therefore I think we can certainly rely on some of that advice and some of the views, which will then extract the technical issues from everything else and be solely focused on the actual enjoyment of RPG and gameplay. So basically I'll have here 6 or 7 different bullet points, and they will be focusing on how Anthem actually plays, what you need to do. Then we'll have a look at its release date and some information on alpha and demos, which is beta testing, and we'll have some ideas on Javelin classes and what they're like. We'll hear a bit more on the matchmaking. We'll have a look at the loot system. We'll have a look at the loot boxes and microtransactions. I have to admit that during the last 24 hours there's been a lot of activity on social networking, particularly through Twitter and Facebook, and it was concerning microtransactions. So we are going to be spending a bit of time on that as well. I just want to dispel the fact, literally, dispel the rumors with a fact right at the onset. Microtransactions will exist in the gameplay, and people will be able to purchase certain bits. However, none of those will have any gameplay value. They will be purely cosmetic. So if you are thinking, well, in order to get ahead in the game, we'll need to purchase certain kit, that is not going to be happening, and I think it's going to be similar to what we had in Destiny. You can purchase certain masks and certain items which will look great on you. They'll be fantastic for your social networking, for your Instagram, for your Twitter, for your screenshots. They'll be great in order to get people together, draw attention once you are in some of the social hubs. But actually, when it comes to the actual results, it is going to have absolutely no bearing whatsoever. Right? So very important to remember that, because some people will be off-put by some of the rumors, and don't forget, the rumors sometimes are launched by the development studio competitors, and there are various people who are stirring them up. And I would just simply say, always go to the informed source and try to double check whether the information indeed is correct, factual and verifiable. Do not trust many things which are emerging on the social networking forums. I'm not sure whether you would have experienced that in the last few months, but there has been a very major upheaval which was concerning, obviously it's not directly connected to the video gaming industry. You're familiar with the American film director Quentin Tarantino, and he obviously very well known for a selection of films, includes for Pulp Fiction and Reservoir Dogs and Jackie Brown. And he worked on his last project together with one of the best music composers for films of all times, Ennio Morricone. And they worked beautifully together. They produced a fantastic score for his last film. And in December, I think, an interview was produced in one of the paper publications in Europe. I'm not going to name the publication because obviously the suit is still carrying on as we speak, in which allegedly Morricone, as one of the legendary composers, had talked very badly about Tarantino, and he labelled him with some very derogatory comments and indicated certain things that the American director was doing which were particularly off-putting for any composer or any participant. He commented on certain aspects of his work and all this, and this was published and released, and people read everything in this publication, which was both provided on paper, it's a paper magazine, as well as online, and all of that was fabricated. None of that was being said by the composer. And then obviously the representatives of the composer, who is very old, he's reaching his 90s at the moment, had stepped in and obviously took legal action, and those kinds of statements were quickly dispelled, and basically we got to know that all published was basically fabricated. So I would advise everyone to be very careful with certain rumors, and do rely on responses coming from the informed source, be it in that case the director in question or his representatives, or in this case the game development studios. So, rumors aside, we are going to be looking at how this game Anthem is going to be played, and there are two games which in fact spring to mind in terms of the structure and the strategy. One is Destiny, because of the open world and the Guardians who are defending their own world against the hostile enemies, and then the Division in terms of team working together, a four-piece, and therefore engaging with all the hostilities which are faced by the gamers. I can see that the messages are coming in. I do apologize for not being able to respond. Warblade Warriors here, thank you sir for coming, really appreciate it. But I will go through the introduction first and will respond to the messages at the end, because at the end we'll have a lengthy Q&A, so everyone will be able to join in with the comments and views, so please bear with me whilst we're going through the news. So yeah, as I said, the connecting games, although I have to say that Anthem is not in terms of its gameplay at all similar, but purely in terms of the concepts, are Destiny and The Division. Destiny in terms of the open world and the engagement with hostilities, The Division in terms of a four-piece attacking the enemy and working together as a team. So in that respect, this is a shared world multiplayer shooter where you are going to be able to create your custom character, which means you'll build your character from scratch, from the way he looks to what he wears and everything else. And I have to say that that is very much in tune with the older BioWare games and Mass Effect. I loved it, and it's very, very, very detailed. The meticulous attention given to detail of outfits is probably second to none. I can assure you. You probably will never seen or played a game which is so detailed. Every single bit on that Javelin suit can be customized, and that's incredible. And obviously people are buying through microtransactions different bits. I'm sure you are going to be able to fit them in for a character to look really absolutely astonishing, to draw attention and to basically make a lot of new friends in the social hub. So as I said, you will be able to create a custom character, you'll be able to complete missions, collect loot, and then upgrade your character's weapons and equipment. So all is a main story campaign packed with lots of interesting bits, and obviously with their own sub-quests and unique stories. And then you'll have lots of different characters whom you'll meet, and therefore you'll be able to build relationships with them. So you are going to be you're going to be exploring this open world, and in there will be plenty of things and characters to discover. So in terms of the usual, similar to Mass Effect, there is some player choice thrown in as well, but what we've seen so far was, well, also this is a very important point, there have been some rumors in the press indicating that Anthem will have a lot less of RPG in the actual gameplay. My experience of the demo was exactly on the contrary. We have many characters who are going to be talking to us. The difference there on the demo was that instead of being provided with, let's say, 6 decision-making options, we were just focused on the 2. I'm not certain whether the 2 are going to be also present in the game. Maybe we'll have a few more, but it is perhaps cutting down on the number of options given. But what's important when you play the game is to stick actually to the approach which you are pursuing from the beginning. So let's say if you want to be a stern warrior and a bit sort of abrasive, then you have to stick to that from the beginning to the end, because if you're asking questions and answering them in that manner, then there is going to be a particular outcome at the end of the game in sync with your responses and manners. If you are polite, diplomatic and courteous, then you can obviously adjust that to the way you ask characters various questions, and the outcome again is going to be tailored to that. So it's really very much based on the similar concept which we've seen in Mass Effect, right? So there will be a lot less perhaps options given, but the dialogue and the constant interactions will definitely not be diminished. So very important for everyone to hear and understand. And if we look at the way the game is construed, we have obviously primarily this online cooperative multiplayer game, but also it is going to be possible to experience all of Anthem by oneself. So the option will be to do it as a single gamer or indeed in a team of 4. Needless to say, doing it in a team of 4 is a lot more enjoyable, it's a lot more social, brings people together, connects with people who you know, as well as the unknown members who are coming in, through matchmaking. It's absolutely the most preferable way of doing the game. Maybe initially, if you want to familiarize yourself with the story, you can try as a single player, but really, after doing the demo, working together with the 4-piece, and I have to tell you, I was joined to, I was brought into one team, and I've never played with those people before. We worked so beautifully together. It was extraordinary. One person was watching my 6, the other was providing primary whilst I was using my subclass, and it just worked perfectly. We met there We developed the strategy according to the activities in the arena, and it all worked very, very well. So obviously my preference will be for the multiplayer from the word go. And as you know, I will be running the Anthem stream literally from the 22nd of February. If you're interested, you'll be able to join in, have a look, and we are going to be talking and discussing everything in depth, literally from the word go. So, as we said, it's preferable for us to be doing the multiplayer, and both camps can be affected by live events, which alter the world in subtle but yet significant ways. For example, reality distorting rifts known as shaper storms are events that can pop up and then cause unexpected dangers. So if you are wondering what shaper storms are, and you're being warned through your friends or other gamers out there on them, then you can go to the library which is on your menu, and read all about them. The library provides you with a wealth of information, and then you can become a lot more skilled and knowledgeable once actually approaching the enemy. So remember to resort to your library at all times, sometimes prior to the mission, sometimes at your leisure, but do read the information there. It is going to be of help with everything you'll do in Anthem. A day-night cycle and dynamic weather system is also going to serve to mix up the gameplay experiences, and also it can be affecting the types of enemies you encounter. I did have this experience during the demo, and it was very good because sometimes I would have faced certain enemies during daytime. At other times we've gone to pitch black, so obviously at night they were a lot more difficult to tackle. So keep this in mind. And dynamic weather is present in Anthem. So when you are not out fighting or exploring the world of Anthem, you will be spending most of your time in Fort Tarsis. And what is Fort Tarsis? It's your base, basically it's your home. It's your safe haven that acts as the game's central hub. So when in the fort, you can then customize your javelin, acquire new missions, you can invest in your personal home base, you can interact with other gamers as well. And in an intriguing shift from normal play, you assume a first-person perspective when inside Fort Tarsis. So I've actually had several messages on Twitter today from some younger gamers worldwide providing me with comments exactly on that, right? And they were really displeased. They said, well, why on earth do they consider switching from the third player to the first player perspective? Because we like it so much better if it is a third player perspective. Personally, I couldn't respond to that because the first thing that came to my mind was Elder Scrolls. In Elder Scrolls, you can switch from third person to first person, and perhaps Anthem is also going to be enabling that as well. I'm not sure, but if you are feeling a bit rattled by that, write to BioWare, tell them about this, and if many people express their concern, they may come up with the download or an update which is going to resolve this. So remember that, and definitely voice your concerns. And it's noticeable because when you're walking around Fort Tarsis, you're not sprinting, you're walking at a leisurely pace, and you are encountering lots of different people and the experiences of POV, first point of view. Whilst you're either in the wild, you're playing the third person, and the experience of combat in particular is significantly different. So keep it in mind. If you're not happy with the third person, if you want to be switching it from the third to the first, then write to BioWare and express your concerns. As I said, I did receive quite a few emails on this, and I'm quite really curious as to why people are finding that so difficult. It's hard for me to fathom, but obviously you can tell me and you can forward other questions and concerns. And I will then forward them obviously to BioWare as well, because the idea behind my regular Anthem analysis and feedback sessions is to gather feedback and then provide everything said to the developer. So refer to the E3 2017 footage if you're wondering what this is like, and also if you have not been doing the demo during this weekend. But on the other hand, once you enter on Friday, you'll be able to obviously get in the full swing of things. And in practice, Fort Tarsis feels a bit like Mass Effect's Normandy. A massive big base with lots of different characters and lots of different places for you to explore and to hide if you want. And it's a place where you can engage in conversations and then learn more about the characters. Apparently, your actions and choices in conversations will have a major effect on the world as well. So you will not be completely blocked from customizing your javelin when out in the field. You do have to access a strider, and the strider is a forward operating base when you can tinker and rest in between expeditions. So remember that. I personally have not experienced strider during my VIP demo gameplay. I'm not sure what strider is in terms of what I've seen, but obviously they told us that strider will be there. And as I said, several online magazines, inclusive of GameSpot and Game Informer, IGN, they've had a chance to experience the one section of the game through gameplay, and they were all very, very positive and, you know, very excited about everything they've seen so far. So as you know, the actual launch date is on February 22nd of 2019, so that's less than 4 weeks away, just about over 3 weeks. And a closed alpha beta test was also done on December the 8th to 9th. That was December of 2017. And as you know, we already had this VIP demo between 25th and 27th. And the new demo is going to be open for everyone on Friday, and you'll be able to play it on Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And also, if you were one of the, you're going to be able to import everything from the first demo session to the second one, meaning all of your achievements, experience points, your kit and gear, everything you built there is going to be valid on Friday, and you'll be able to use it. However, once the demo period on Sunday ends, then that is going to be it with your kit and with your achievements. Once you start replaying the game or playing the game from scratch after its release, you are going to be able to start from nil. So none of the achievements are going to be importable, so remember that. And we have then some focus on the javelin classes, right? So people ask, well, what are the javelin classes? The focus of Anthem is its javelins, so javelin suits, which are super powered like Iron Man-like suits that act as player classes. And for everyone who's been here over the weekend, you'll know we have 4 different ones: Ranger, Colossus, Interceptor and Storm. In fact, because of all the technical problems experienced during the weekend, BioWare unlocked all 4 suits on Sunday. And in fact, if we had enough time, or if we had been plagued by no technical difficulties, then we would have been able to simply enter any of those and test them. I was testing 2 of them. I was unable to get to the other 2. Unfortunately, simply it was time factor, and I've been experiencing that rubber banding literally throughout my sessions, which meant I was being significantly hampered. I couldn't literally progress to the missions with ease as I expected, but nevertheless, obviously I have a very, very good experience. So when you are rejoining the demo testing on Friday, if you were one of the VIP members who were accessing the demo, you are going to be able to start with all 4 javelin suits unlocked, right? And this was a compensation given or provided by the developer to everyone who was participating in the weekend due to the technical difficulties. I'm not certain whether the rest of the participants, i.e. the people who are coming for the first time on Friday coming to test the demo, I'm not sure that whether they are also going to be having this access to all 4 suits. Possibly, but maybe. You know, that is to be confirmed with Mr. Robertson and Mr. Hudson on Friday. I know for certain that for all of us that were there during the weekend, we are going to have this 4 suit unlock. So each suit does have its own particular abilities, weapons, ultimate attacks, as well as a laundry list of strengths and weaknesses depending on your playstyle. You may equip 2 weapons to the loadout at any given time, and you can cycle out different sets between missions. It is also possible to switch javelin suits between missions, so you don't have to be playing all missions in one javelin suit. Below you can find summaries of each javelin class, which I will read out. So if you guys have been here on the weekend, you probably would have been either Ranger or Storm, and these were the two characters that most people were engaging. I have played in the arena with Colossus and Interceptor being on my team, and I can certainly tell you that the actual team of 4, if each player is wearing a different suit, is probably the very best, because each one of the suits does have special abilities, and once against the enemy they can be combined. And the session I had with the guys I described earlier was exactly like that. You know, Colossus was just literally rampaging through the area whilst I was using my subclass powers, and the other guy, who was the Interceptor, was using his primary, and the Ranger was using his secondary. So really it was a perfectly combined assault, and the strategy was literally worked out as we progressed during that mission. So by default, when you start, you're allocated the Javelin suit of Ranger. The Ranger is the all-rounder exosuit, which is most versatile, appearing to be able to handle most combat situations very effectively. Aside from heavy weaponry, it can equip nearly every weapon type under the sun. It balances both ranged and melee attacks, and can switch between them in the thick of the battle with relative ease. So basically for everyone, when you're starting out for the first time, also if you're playing the demo on the weekend, I would personally recommend for you to use the Ranger, because the Ranger is very easy to use, and you'll be able to really capitalize on all abilities and learn the tricks. Then later you may progress to Storm. Storm is more complex because there are these sort of subclass abilities and also different kinds of weapons. And then you have Colossus and Interceptor. So Colossus is the second one. So if you like a character who appears to be a bit heavy and very sort of incoming fire resistant to a degree, and quite menacing in terms of melee combat and, you know, direct attacks on the enemy, then Colossus may well be your choice. So something that the Ranger is not readily capable of. So the Colossus is the suit you'll want to spend time with quite a bit. It is the brute of the 3, of the 4 I should say, and then that suit possesses all manner of firepower, like homing missile launchers, mortars, flamethrowers, and heavy cannons. So lots of different weapons on the suit, which can be used at will at any time. And also it can topple enemies in the path with its massive chases and shield. So while slowing its movement speed, it does have jet propulsion that can help you get out of harm's way if a battle becomes too hot. So really, Storm may well be much faster than Colossus, but then you will actually base your strategy on the type of suit that you will be wearing. Colossus is kind of heavy, sturdy, massive, strong, you know, ideal for close quarter battle. Storm may be, you know, going in and out with ease and providing you with that sort of ability. The third one is Interceptor, and the Interceptor is the polar opposite of the Colossus, and that is all about agility and mobility. Interceptor is incredibly proficient at melee attacks and abilities that can weaken enemies, so do expect a lot of hit and run tactics when using this flashy and acrobatic javelin. So if you like speed, if you like going in and out with speed and attacking the enemy, perhaps sometimes in doing recce and then going back and, you know, talking to others, Interceptor will be your first choice. The last one, number 4, is Storm. And quite frankly, Storm bears similarity to Warlock in Destiny, in that it appears to be Anthem's mage class. Right? So mage will have special abilities which can be used at will, and I have to say I loved my Storm on the weekend. I really do, because all of those subclass abilities were basically making me freeze the enemies. And as you appreciate, we started on level 10, which means we were not powered up adequately for some of the enemies, and I'll be using my freezing subclass. So the enemy could be frozen, and as they got frozen, I would attack them with my primary, my automatic weapon, and then they would crack and die. This is absolutely ideal. And then when playing in a team, I was using my subclass abilities, and my teammates were using their primaries and secondaries, which were resolving the enemy with ease and speed. So remember that. And as you expect from its name, Storm makes use of lethal elemental attacks. Unlike other javelins, it can effortlessly float above ground for extended periods of time, so as to hail down a barrage of elemental damage. And that's very useful. Compared to the others, Storm will have two abilities to fly, you know, so that's very, very important. One is to fly everywhere, and the other is just simply floating, and this floating is very, very placid. You can control it with ease. I played it on PlayStation, so my left and right 3 were just very, very easily deployed there for my movement, and equally I was able to use my weapons at the same time, so really, really beautifully construed. And with such powers at its fingertips, this character, this suit, has little in the way of defensive capability, so Storm is, I guess, more vulnerable in terms of incoming fire, which very much makes this javelin best suited for advanced players. So you'll be able to get quickly from one place to another, you'll be able to use a subclass, and therefore you are likely to be more vulnerable. So, you know, definitely, probably Storm may not be your first port of call, but after you played the game a few times, after you really got to know the ropes, after you were already professed in several missions, and indeed with knowledge and skill, then perhaps you will migrate to Storm as well. So probably Ranger first, Interceptor second, Colossus third, and Storm fourth. That would be the recommendation coming from the developer. All of you would have seen matchmaking in action during the weekend, and basically before heading out into the world with your javelin, you will have the option to matchmake with up to 3 other gamers. You can choose to either invite friends, fellow guild members, or other like-minded players. You needn't worry about player levels amongst the group, as you can join up with anyone without consequence to experience and loot earnings. It's also possible to simply jump out into the world on your own without assembling a squad, so you'll be given a choice. What did not work well, technically, during the weekend was exactly that. I wanted to play first of all by myself, and I entered a mission, and then suddenly I found myself there with 3 other guys, so we were a team of 4, and that was not what I wanted. On the second or third attempt, I wanted to do the multiplayer, and then I was being left by myself. Because we had the infinite loading screen coming in frequently, when I had to restart, I would not be brought back into the mission. I would have to restart the mission from scratch, and I could not tell whether this was going to be either a single or a multiplayer mission. However, these were the technical problems affecting us during the weekend whilst we were testing the demo, and I'm quite certain that for the actual game launch on the 22nd February, all of that will be resolved, and we'll obviously be able to choose right from the beginning and then pursue our choices at will. From my personal experience, when you're doing your first game run, it is quite useful to be doing it as a single player, because you are going to be learning the ropes, you will be getting to the story, you obviously try different suits as you go along. Perhaps you'll play all 4 during the story missions. Bear in mind with the fact that there will be many sub-quests, sub-plots and side missions, all of which are very important. They all have to be obviously completed, and therefore you'll get phenomenal knowledge and skill, consequently making you stronger and more able-bodied to enter a bigger team of 4. You may not want to do it that way if you were one of those dedicated multiplayer gamers, literally from the word go. You may want to just enter with other guys and then try it together. Don't forget, doing it as single player compared to the multiplayer is a completely different gaming experience. It is almost as if you're playing a completely different game. As soon as you get a squad in, it becomes a very, very sociable activity. Your community gets on board. If you're a streamer, you'll have your members coming in and providing you with comments and chat. You'll have your strategy done within a squad of 4, and you will be experiencing it from a completely different angle. So it's down to preference, but personally I would invite everybody to try both options. So regardless of how you choose to proceed, you're prompted to pick either an objective on the map to accomplish, or choose free play mode where you can explore the world at your own pace. Yeah, so you were theoretically able to do that during the weekend. I can certainly say for myself, I could not use the free play mode. For whatever reason, on PlayStation 4, where I am, in the UK, in London, it just wouldn't allow me to use this option. But obviously we are going to have it as we proceed, hopefully during this weekend, this coming weekend. And I was very, very curious to see what free play was going to be like, because I like RPGs where you're exploring the open world, you know? When I played Fallout or Red Dead Redemption, I was never using fast travel. I always walked or raced or drove. I was riding a horse, whatever, depending on the game. And then whenever I did that, I met all kinds of things in the wild, be it from dangerous situations to menacing creatures, lost characters who are wandering about, and that makes the element of RPG a lot more interesting and enjoyable. So remember, you'll be given these options in order to explore the world. Whilst doing one of the missions as a single player on the weekend, I just wandered off because the mission wasn't timed. I could do whatever I wanted. I went through some secret passages, I went down some tunnels, I explored some caves, basically went to the wasteland, went through various jungles and this is very, very menacing areas of the planet. And I did encounter some serious enemies. The trouble there was that the enemies were quite glitched, and when I tried to kill them, my fire was basically providing no damage, and also vice versa. When the enemies attacked me, I couldn't die. So it was funny, but obviously these were the areas which were not to be visited, I guess, by us as we were doing these missions on the weekend. And I just, took this opportunity because I was really quite curious to see what the planet was going to be like. If you're doing it with a 4-piece, then the game is going to be bringing you to the area where the guys are. So you're not going to be able to explore free play, right? Because obviously the mission is not timed, but your teammates are progressing and therefore you can't be left behind. Also, the other thing in there to remember is that if you're doing it as a squad, you can't be reviving yourself. One of your squad team members has to come and revive you. So that's similar to Destiny Nightfall Strikes, the weekly Nightfall Strikes, where you are dependent on your team, and then you can be revived only by one of the guys in the squad together with you. And therefore you'll have to be considering the strategy on how you are likely to avoid being killed, and the difficulties arise if you are left in a different area. If you're somewhere at some remote spot, then your other guys may not see you, may not know that you're there. Maybe that was just a problem during the weekend. It's possible that we'll have notices and warnings when we do actually full gameplay. I certainly had a difficulty in seeing where one of my teammates was lying if killed, and I think that happened also to them as well, because in one instance I had to be waiting almost half a mission. They didn't know where I was, so probably just one of those glitches. But important to remember when you actually start playing the game in full. So there's this loot system as well, and like its shared world contemporaries, Anthem features a loot system. The quality of loot you receive is determined by your current pilot level. So even if you're paired with high-level players, you will be obtaining loot that corresponds to your pilot level. So that is going to be significantly different to Destiny 1, for instance. Because in Destiny 1, if you were doing certain missions and strikes, you would be getting really high-quality kit. In this instance, all of that is going to be tailored to your abilities and to your levels. So keep this in mind, because when you come in with other gamers who are really leveled up and very powerful, you'll be able to race to the missions, but the loot is not going to be as good. And some loot will be drop specific from certain enemies, while others are earned by completing certain quest lines. So there'll be sub-quests and then you get some extra loot. So it's worth noting that loot is instanced and therefore cannot be stolen by anybody else. Right? So you'll be able to collect it at the end of your mission or as you're playing it, and other guys can't actually steal it off you. It will always be there for you. And this was visible during the weekend, because at the end of certain successes we were given some coins and some rewards, and they weren't just collected by others, they were waiting there for me to come in and collect as well. So it was very, very good. So I wasn't able to just lose out on something which was waiting for me whilst I was, running around or indeed feeling a bit lost. Loot is divided into 6 categories, denoting its rarity. So the list is as follows: common loot, uncommon loot, rare, epic, legendary, and masterwork. And obviously, depending on your level, you will be getting that loot as you're progressing through the game. Anthem lead producer basically gave a very detailed description to various industry members, and we are sort of hoping to see that on a video, which BioWare will be releasing. They already had released several videos since the weekend, so I've not been watching many of those, but maybe you already would have caught up with some of those tutorials on customization and all of the ins and outs, how to basically work together with your character. There were questions on microtransactions, and the developer confirmed that there will be no loot boxes in Anthem, and you will be able to purchase cosmetic items for your Javelin with real or in-game currency, with the exception of cosmetics included with special editions of the game. These ones will not be purchasable elsewhere. And there also will be armor packs that charge the appearance of your Javelin. So there were lots of questions on microtransactions during the last few days. In fact, I got some messages yesterday in my feedback session here, and I can certainly confirm with certainty that microtransactions indeed will be available, or they will be present in Anthem, but they will not be affecting the scores or the gameplay. They'll be purely cosmetic. So they will be literally there in order to facilitate a certain type of social activity. If you're wearing a funny suit, or you're having some bits of kit which is very rare and looks particularly noticeable, you are likely to be drawing a lot of attention from other gamers who are going to be in that social hub. You probably would have seen in the last few days that Casey Hudson confirmed that on the request of many players, they are creating this social hub, and the social hub is going to be not in Fort Tarsis but somewhere else, and it is going to be very similar to the terrace in the tower which we had in Destiny 1, and therefore everybody will be able to join and discuss things there, be it from touching base about the gameplay and strategy, to displaying different kinds of dance moves, or providing others with some experience of the nice, brand new kit which are just freshly bought. And definitely the social hub is going to be the place for us to make new friends and acquaintances. So the other question was, what's in the end game? What happens there? So quite frankly, BioWare had kept that really secret and open. There were lots of questions directed at the producers on last Thursday when they were doing the world premiere of the demo. Sila Costa and another producer from BioWare were there testing the demo, and they said, well, at the moment we are not really telling you anything, just wait until the release date. But what they did confirm was the cross-platform play. Right? They said cross-platform play is not going to be accessible on the release date, but they're hoping to make it accessible very, very soon. So I'd say probably within the first 6 weeks, crossplay is going to be accessible, and I absolutely love the idea. I did have a problem with other multiplayer games which were platform specific, and as you know, Anthem, unlike maybe PUBG or Call of Duty, is not a game that is going to be solely focused on scoring with kills or with the destruction of enemies, and many other layers to the game, and bringing in all the guys into the same arena from Xbox, PlayStation and PC is going to be truly wonderful. Every day I get messages from people playing Destiny and asking me, do you know anybody who is doing it on Xbox? Do you know anybody who plays it on PlayStation? Because frequently the game, after being in circulation for 6 months, doesn't have that many gamers out there doing it, and some people are having a difficulty in attracting others to come in as their fire team members and teammates. So I really applaud BioWare for that, and that has been confirmed. So once we come to the level 30, and once we've beaten the story campaign, well, we'll have to see what happens. There is a possibility that they will run it a bit like Destiny 2, with Season Pass and new missions coming in. I'm not certain. They said that all the options presently are on the table, and they're considering how to do that. So that was really a brief introduction on everything we know about Anthem. And I just wanted to also tell you a bit about the demo, which is going to be accessible this weekend. So just bear with me. So basically, all of us who purchased the game in advance, i.e. pre-ordered, and was able to access the demo early, a week earlier than everyone else. So we were doing the VIP demo test, which in fact wasn't just a demo. I have to say, this felt very much like beta testing of the game. It was a very, very lengthy demo containing about 8 hours of gameplay, exclusive of free play, you know, the exploration of the wild, and of any other ins and outs which you might be doing there when talking to characters and exploring Fort Tarsis or any other area. So absolutely massive, with a lot of gameplay, and you know, as you've heard, there were lots of technical problems there as well. Therefore, I would say, because it was so massive, and therefore the second weekend is going to be open for everyone. So it is going to be your truly and fully open demo for everyone to participate. Please do remember that the open demo is going to be accessible to everyone, regardless of the fact whether you are on PlayStation Plus or Xbox Live Gold. You may not need the subscription to those services in order to access the demo in full. Right? It's very important to remember, and you will be able to play it and try it wherever you are at will from Friday to Sunday. So what is said is Friday the 1st is the start. The demo is going to start, and that will be 9 AM Pacific time, and that will be 12 o'clock PM midday Eastern time, and 5 o'clock PM European time. Right? So it will start on February the 1st, which is this Friday, 9 AM Pacific, 12 o'clock midday Eastern, and 5 o'clock European. Okay. I beg your pardon, it'll be UK, and I think 6 o'clock PM European time. And then the end time is going to be similar or even identical to what we had during last weekend, Sunday, February the 3rd, at 8 o'clock PM Pacific, 11 PM Eastern, and 4 AM European time. And we are going to be able to access it on PC, on Xbox, and indeed on PlayStation 4. So at the end of this introduction, I have some of the most exciting news to give you, and that would have come directly from the executive of BioWare Live Operations, Mr. Chad Robertson. Right? So do you know what the exciting news are? If you do know, tell me. Type here in the chat, let me know what you heard. So these are truly exciting news, and they are probably given to us, or they're going to be given to us, because of all the problems experienced during last weekend. Right? Does anyone know? Shall I keep you in suspense? Nah, I'm not going to keep you in suspense, I'll tell you. Mr. Robertson confirmed that the next week's demo will feature a new activity which was not seen in the VIP demo. So in fact, the entire structure and the entire idea has been reversed, because theoretically you should have experienced something special during the first VIP demo testing weekend, but actually, because of the difficulties, we have it reversed. So everybody who is going to be entering the arena for demo testing on the next weekend is going to be experiencing some new content. So Mr. Chad Robertson advised players to stick around for Sunday afternoon because you will see then a glimpse of some of the cool things that BioWare is going to be doing in the future. So definitely be there on Sunday afternoon because those bits are going to be accessible then. So lots of people have speculated what this surprise is going to be, and maybe it's going to be a first proper look at Anthem's story, but they have not confirmed. No? And it is possible that we are going to be given some indication on what the Anthem's endgame content is likely to be, and we are speculating, well I personally am speculating, that it is likely to be like a season pass. So we are then going to be able to enter either season pass or Anthem online, so to speak, where new missions, new raids, new bits, new kit are going to be provided on a regular basis, making it accessible and making it playable for everybody for many months and years to come. So other questions came up, such as, will there be a contract mission? Will there be some traces of a raid? Will there be some special mission allocated? Are we going to be getting some special goodies because we were there for 2 consecutive weekends? Well, these are all the questions. We don't know the answer, but we are obviously quite certain that the new content will be unlocked on Sunday afternoon. So we are going to be experiencing something different on Sunday compared to what we've had during the last weekend. In addition to that, Mr. Robertson confirmed today that their teams have been working 24/7 on resolving all the technical issues experienced. They included rubber banding, which is a very serious lag, infinite loading screen, difficulties with the original login on certain platforms, as well as other ins and outs of technical problems as experienced. So they're all working 24/7, trying to resolve all the issues before Friday. But I think I would like to ask everyone to be a bit patient. I still anticipate some issues on Friday and during this weekend, but I'm hoping that the majority of those will be fully resolved by the 22nd of February when the game is launched. Don't forget, their servers might be under severe stress and pressure during this weekend because this is going to be a fully open demo, and the number of gamers coming in and out will be much greater than during last weekend. So indeed, it is going to be very important for us to see how those servers are going to perform. And Casey Hudson said that they already made those provisions for the last weekend, just in case, and that the problems which we did have were not server related. He said they were primarily multiplayer related and connected to the player or gamer behavior, the way people sort of entering the arena and what they were doing overall. I'm not a tech expert to tell you, but certainly the problems were causing us a lot of headache, and for anybody who's accessing my streams which are archived, you will be able to see what problems I experienced, and it was very frustrating. But by Sunday night everything began to work, and the gameplay was then incredibly rewarding and most highly exciting, and it was leading us to the final task, which was 22nd of February, the game being fully released and us being able to jump in with both feet. So we've come to the end of our introduction. We've heard everything about Anthem, and now there's time for our Q&A and for our feedback. So I already had several questions coming in on various platforms. I thank you all guys for listening, for providing us with your thoughts and views. First and foremost, I wish to apologize for not being able to respond to your questions sooner. I did say several times during my presentation that at the end we'll have literally as long as we need to discuss the game and answer all the questions. So I'll go through the questions one by one, and now is the time for you to be typing them as well, if you were waiting patiently for the feedback and indeed for our Q&A session. So the Q&A session starts immediately. And I do apologize sometimes for repeating myself, but the music on the demo is so loud, and it's interfering with my stream of thought, and I can't turn it down because I can't access the demo. So troubling, Let's have a look at the questions. I welcome MadChild187. I welcome Warblade Warrior. I welcome SQ1ZZYNI. Thank you guys for sitting here and being so patient and obviously presenting me with your questions. I'll answer them in sequence. MadChild187 is asking, when will the servers be back up on Anthem? Well, Mad Child, I can tell you the servers are going to be up and running on Friday, and as we've seen, they are going to be operating in the same fashion as experienced last weekend. So the servers are going to be fully up and running on February the 1st at 9 AM Pacific, 12 PM European and 5 PM UK time. And then they will be ending the demo on February the 3rd, which is on Sunday, 8 PM Pacific, 11 PM Eastern and 4 AM UK time. So basically the servers will be switched on Friday and they'll be switched off on Sunday. In addition to that, I can tell you that we are going to be able to import all of our achievements from the last weekend, and that will all work for the second weekend. But once the demo is finished, none of those achievements will be carried over to the actual full game. So if anybody is hoping that some of it will be stashed, well, it isn't going to happen, because obviously this demo is just here for us to test the game, and it perhaps will not even be presented in the same format in the game itself, and the sections may look and feel very, very different. And when we start the game, we'll start with level which is nil, and then we'll be progressing to level 1, 2, etc. Right? Well, I should say we should start with level 1 and then we'll be progressing to, I think I said earlier, level 30. So it's 30 levels. If I'm not mistaken, it's 30 levels in the base game. Then we have a question: what is your main in Anthem and why? Warblade Warrior asked, what is your main in Anthem and why? Well, it's hard to tell at the moment what my main is, and the main javelin suit. The references obviously related to javelins. I think I just tried 2 of them, and I think between my Storm and Ranger, I can't say whether one or the other would be preferred. They seemed very, very different. The Ranger was more incoming fire resistant, and also the Ranger had some grenades and some rockets which could be fired at will, that were very useful for distant enemies. Storm was more incoming fire vulnerable, but it had this special ability which could be used in order to hover about, to be floating, so it was like an add-on to the ability to fly, and I thought this was very, very good. I think it's going to be excellent when you're doing it in multiplayer, because only Storm will have that floating ability, and therefore Storm will be able to get in and out of those situations fast. On the other hand, Storm might be also ideal for the collection of certain items which need to be, let's say, placed somewhere in order to unlock a gate, door, whatever. And that is going to be very, very interesting to see in action, really, how it's going to work together with the other 3 characters. And then SQ is asking, I played all javelins, think I go Colossus as main. Well, that's terrific, that's terrific. It means that you actually will prefer the big, bulky, sturdy, large javelin suit in order to carry forward and in order to progress in the game. I think Colossus is likely to be perhaps incoming fire most resistant because of the way the suit is built, but then don't forget, if you are being attacked by large enemies, and by attacking in great number, you are going to be a bit more static than Interceptor, who is the fastest, or Storm, the character who can sort of hover about and glide a bit in addition to flying. So from that point of view, you will be then a bit more vulnerable. But as said, it all depends on your style of gameplay, obviously your own personal preference, and I think as you try all 4 javelin suits and playing them throughout the game, you'll be able to decide exactly on whatever appears to be most likable and most applicable to your strategy. Joker and Harley is here. Hello Joker and Harley, how are you doing? Good to see you, and thank you for joining our community. We are building our brand new community of Anthem gamers, and as you know, this channel has been almost solely dedicated to Destiny from the beginning, and I'm very, very hopeful that our Destiny veterans will also migrate to Anthem. I already have had some messages today from some of my Destiny associates who said, well, it's so great to see that Anthem is so different to Destiny, and we are definitely going to be migrating, and therefore we'll have this beautiful choice of being able to swing from one game to another, maybe even on the same day. If you get tired with raids in Destiny or tired in grinding to get to a certain power level, you can just go to Anthem and then enjoy, and vice versa, of course. If you want to be hitting a more competitive streak and do PvP, then you go to Crucible on Destiny after doing Anthem for 6 hours and engaging with the open world. So, Joke and Harley is asking, is the beta still open? The actual beta testing of the game was completed on the 6th and 7th of December of last year, and as far as I know, it has not been reopened. But the VIP demo felt very much like beta testing as well, and it was immense of the content, so it felt very much like really a beta test of the game, not just like small sections, because in here you were able to play, I think we played 2 or 3 missions which are story missions, and then we had the option of attacking the stronghold. That's the stronghold with that Swarm Tyrant, the big beast at the end, which felt a bit like a raid or the Siva Heroic Strikes in Destiny, if I'm to be making crude comparisons, but they're not really that similar. And so it's a lot of content. In addition to that, if you were exploring Fortresses, then you could talk to different characters and get some interesting information from them. I in fact talked to half dozen, I think, and one of them was the barman. He had all questions about different types of ladies and what to do with them. Then the other character was Matthias. He is the lead character there right at the beginning, who suddenly, after he used the relic, transformed into 3 Matthiases. So 1 minute we had 1 Matthias, next minute there were 3. And then he asked me to explore, basically to find out as to what the relic was doing, as to why suddenly he was being multiplied. And then we had this mission, and we were completing the mission, and it was very, very, very interesting, very exciting. And as I said, it was lengthy. They did make the missions, the story missions, kind of easy, and the stronghold was difficult. But then on the other hand, we had the option of choosing our own difficulty level. I played everything on easy, so I didn't go for the hard or the hardest option. Not sure how this is going to work in the game at the end. It is likely to be easily switched on and off. I think that's what appears to be. And don't forget, Sila Costa, the producer, who was doing the world premiere last Thursday through IGN, he said the quality of the loot and the items you collect will solely depend on whether you're playing it on any of those greater difficulty levels. So to put it bluntly, if you're doing it on easy, your gear and whatever you're going to be getting in there is never going to be as massive or as as high quality as if you were playing on the hard difficulty level. So that obviously is something to consider when entering the game. And we'll have to see how the competitive element of collecting and experience points and everything else is going to work here. My first impression is it is going to be significantly different to what we had in Destiny. Obviously, we're talking about BioWare, this is a different studio, and the game overall, after I've done it for 3 days on a trot, felt completely different. In fact, I was expecting the game to have some Destiny auspices, but I really, apart from the concept of coming in with the multiplayer, 3 other guys, the world felt much closer to Mass Effect than to Destiny. It's also the graphics and animation and the way everything works. It's not just solely third-person shooter fighting focused. You have all these other things to resolve. In addition to that, the game does have lots of puzzles, so in order to progress in the game you have to resolve the puzzles as well. And then you have lots of conversations, and you have a lot of sub-quests, and so it's a mixture of everything. The first thing you feel when you enter the demo is, yeah, this feels like an extension of Mass Effect. And it's just and right, because obviously Mass Effect is the property of BioWare, and the trilogy is one of the best RPGs ever made. So, anybody tells you they were really disappointed, I think they probably were just marred by technical difficulties or plagued by inability to get in or something. And really, once you get in the game and once you are able to enjoy the gameplay and, you know, flow through those missions, you really you're facing this vast world. And don't forget, we were just doing a couple of missions, and there are going to be 30 levels. And you know, I remember when Mass Effect 2 came out and people said, well, Mass Effect 2 has an infinite number of endings. Well, that was taking it a bit too far, but it did have an infinite number of possibilities, because depending on how you traveled and depending on who you talk to, you would be then getting lots of sub-quests, and then sub-quests were rewarding you. You know, anybody who was just racing to the main story missions would have missed out on all the sub-quests. And Anthem will have exactly that, but just in much larger quantity, you know. That's the first impression. It just feels like Mass Effect expanded, you know, in terms of the characters and everything. Breezer Bricks is here. Hello, Breezer Bricks. How are you doing? Good to see you, and thank you for joining and participating. Thank you for being a member of our new Anthem community. And Breezer Bricks says, well, it's not really third person while shooting while grounded. Really? Were you able to switch from the third person to first person? Because I didn't really realize you could switch. Lots of messages that I received since yesterday, in fact, were focusing on the fact that people kind of a bit concerned that while you're at 4 Tarsus, you are having your POV, you know, and whilst you're out there, you're playing the third person. So Breezy Bricks is asking me, did you even play the demo? Well, I certainly did. If you don't believe me, go and have a look at my the playback. But I had lots of problems with technical issues. I had a lot of rubber banding, and I couldn't really progress at certain stages. There were dead spots in all arenas, and once you hit a dead spot, you just couldn't go anywhere. That was the trouble. Breezer Bricks, did you play the game? What did you think of it? Did you try all those Javelin suits? Were you preferring Colossus or Storm? What was your preference, Breezer Bricks? And what did you think? Did you like it? Did you hate it? Tell us. It's going to go to BioWare. Ah, Breezy Bricks is not saying anything. Perhaps typing. Well, it's good to see that so many people came in tonight as well. I could see that there were about 30-40 people at one time. So that's pretty good. Really thank you for your participation and your interest in Anthem, and obviously our feedback. I can certainly tell you I was very happy to see that the feedback I provided was picked up by Mr. Hudson, Casey Hudson of BioWare, and also by Sila Costa, the other producer. They were quite grateful for all the content and everything else that would have gone in. And obviously, for anyone interested, you can just head to my Twitter. You can have a look at the video clips of firefights and, you know, all the action which we had. And then you can see also some very nice screenshots of various outfits, 2 Javelin suits in fact, because I tried on it too, and then also of various other bits from the game. You know, it's really beautiful areas in Fort Tarsus. If you walk around and explore different corners, you'll find all sorts. The only trouble was that the vast majority of items which I found in Fort Tarsus were disabled for the demos, so I couldn't really use them. So you will see that they're there, but you can't really, you know, use them, and it tells you, you get a pop-up saying, well, once you play the full game, everything's going to be unlocked. And to be fair, I thought it was very progressive, really, from BioWare when they unlocked all 4 suits, because people didn't expect this. And it was a good reward for everyone who was grinding it literally throughout the weekend. I really did grind it, you know. I really did, because when I had to be dealing with that rubber banding, I didn't know what to do. And the trouble with infinite loading screen was that you had to restart the game. So if you are a broadcaster, you have to be restarting the broadcast as well as restarting the game, and then it becomes a bit heavy on eyes and ears for everyone. And then, as I said, the lag was very, very considerable, and there were these dead spots. You come to that dead spot, and they were literally in those areas where you'd be sort of hiding from the enemy when you kind of engaged in first contact, and then you got killed because anybody looking at you in the game would see you just standing. You're not moving at all because you can't move your character. But when looking at yourself on your own screen, you can see that you are, rubber banding, basically going backwards and forwards and coming back to the same place. And it was particularly annoying when you're trying to fly, because you would fly up and then you go down, and it was quite an experience. So let's see, any other questions? Do people have any feelings about Javelin Suits? Have you tried the game? You've been there on the weekend? Will you be there on Friday? What are you expecting? What are your expectations for Anthem overall? Are you kind of looking forward to the game? Are you going to be there from the 22nd? Are you pre-ordering? Have you already ordered? Are you going to be waiting for the price drop? Or are you going to be joining the community straight away? What are your thoughts and feelings about Anthem? What's happened so far with your gameplay? Were you able to finish all 5 levels on the weekend? You've gone from 10 to 15. We did have one person here, and SQ1, he said he played all Javelins and completed all of them, and he thought that he would go Colossus as main. So obviously SQ had Colossus as his main character, and that was his preference. I couldn't make up my mind yet because I only tried 2, so I'm still waiting for the full test. Then I'll be able to see whether I prefer Interceptor or Colossus. But by saying this, Colossus and Interceptor were in the fighting arena together with me, and we worked really well as a team. The best team I had was where every one of the Javelin suits was there. So we had Storm, Interceptor, Ranger and Colossus. And that was great. So the trouble we had with that mission, we were attacking that Swarm Beast, Swarm Tyrant, in the stronghold. And we were doing so well. And then literally, a moment before the beast was killed, the game crashed. And we all booted out. So we didn't get any experience points or anything. And that was annoying, really, because the team worked so hard and worked so well, and I did record some of the action, but it's always expected to get some glitches and technical difficulties, and I think definitely it's a lot better for them to happen whilst you're doing demoing than on the actual release date. You will be reminded of what happened to another game which was really kind of hotly anticipated and with lots of expectations, and it came out I think in November and massively backfired on release date, and that was Fallout 76. And I am a massive Fallout fan, and I played most of the Fallout franchise games, and I've not played 76 yet, and some of my community members are doing it. And they said that the first few weeks were absolutely dreadful because there were so many technical difficulties, and Bethesda were trying to resolve them, but due to the kind of player behavior and the multiplayer, they were not able to tackle the issues as quickly as desired. And eventually the problems were resolved, and the same community members told me that they just love Fallout 76, and they said that really once the technical issues were resolved, the game was very, very enjoyable and vast and interesting, and just as you would expect it to be. But then again, all the negative feedback and those reviews that had come in literally during the first couple of weeks had affected the sales, and then the game was offered on half price almost immediately during its second week. The sales were very, very poor due to that, and I think some people cancelled the orders, and it affected the overall experience, and I think that's really sad. On the other hand, to be fair, has to be said that Bethesda were trying to do something overly ambitious. They were still testing the game, beta testing, literally prior to the game release. And that itself could be troubling, because you might be trying to squeeze in too many things at once, and it's better to leave it, obviously, for a while, for time and space to be in between, because you have more time. And I know that people are very eager, and somebody in the marketing department perhaps thought, well, it's the best we kind of join things together, people can beta test and demo it, and then we can throw them in immediately, they don't have to wait for much longer. But as you can see with these massive games, there could be lots of technical issues, and if they backfire, the sales are affected. And just think, Anthem is a massive game. They spent already 7 years on the game, and even before then they were working on the concept. And if there is a massive backlash of negativity, then the future of anything else, the end game, so to speak, would be definitely deeply affected. And we do not want to see that. We want Anthem to be as long as alive and as good as possible, with longevity, so we can come back and enter different seasons, and we can have annual pass providing us with new content, new missions, new stories. Quite frankly, I think what Destiny 2 Forsaken is doing, and Bungie basically, is really excellent. And for any major sci-fi blockbuster, it is always the best if you can be just re-entering rather than having installments. It makes it much more immersive, and with a very long life. That's certainly my perspective and experience. We had 3 Mass Effects, but think about Mass Effect being released today and then having that kind of capacity to be just re-entering missions and new stories evolving, and it makes a tremendous difference. And also, don't forget, when you are releasing games in separate installments, you may or you may not get the same members of community coming back. And for me, that is the greatest possible deterrent, because what you do want is for everybody to be present for every one of those installments. Like with Halo community, it had such strong fan base, and the community was massive, and then people just came back for Halo 1, Halo 2, Halo 3. I did have a problem when Microsoft decided that they were pulling the plug on the Xbox original, and suddenly people were stranded. But we know that today that's no longer the case, because of the game re-release excuse me, its upgrade to 4K, and also backward compatibility on Xbox One. So that's been resolved, but certainly for a number of years people couldn't access the game. So I think we don't want to see that. We want to see everybody happy and present. And don't forget what happened with Destiny. We had this massive community building on Destiny 1, and then once Destiny 2 came out, lots of people were quite displeased with the RPG element, and they didn't really like the base game, and many people decided not to continue, and perhaps didn't purchase Forsaken as quickly as you would expect them to. And then in addition to that, Activision were giving public feedback indicating that Forsaken was not selling well at all, and that's really obviously lodging a massive question mark behind that kind of PR approach. You do not want people to throw in many more goodies and provide maybe some extras on annual pass, and then people will come in because they're interested, they love the game, they're absolutely dedicated to it. So, hello Radical Gaming, how are you doing, sir? Good to see you here. Thank you for coming, and thank you for watching my channel and for participating here in our feedback on Anthem. Radical Gaming is saying, one of my friends is playing the demo. Well, I guess he played the demo during the weekend, right? And I'd be quite curious to hear what his experience was. Was he elated? Did he like the game? Did he enjoy the demo? And also I'd like to hear what platform he played it on. I've been asking this yesterday and today, literally throughout. I'm quite curious to hear from people playing it on different platforms, because I had the experience of PlayStation 4. But I think the majority of people who were talking to us yesterday were playing it on PlayStation 4, and they've come in here on PlayStation 4 forums, so PlayStation 4 networking and all of that. And I'd be very, very curious to hear how this game performed on PC, and how this game performed on Xbox, because I had several messages coming in. I think it was on Sunday night, whilst I was, broadcasting the game, and there were people on Xbox indicating that they still couldn't log in. Sunday night, and for the third day running, they still couldn't log in. I don't really know what sort of problems were there, and I'd like to hear it. I'd like to hear it directly from them. Radical Gaming is saying, my friend is playing it now on PS4. Well, can you tell me how this is made possible? I can't really understand why he's able to do that, because the servers are not switched on. So how on earth is he able to access the demo today? And Radical Gaming says, I got PS4 Pro. Well, sir, you've got the best possible machine out there. PS4 Pro and also Xbox One X are the best consoles on the planet. The graphics quality, the download speed, the process, everything is absolutely top notch. And if also you have your 4K TV, and if it is 65-70 inch, then really we are really talking heaven. Well, I watched lots of my games on PS2 and PS3 on my home cinema, which was kitted up with my LCD projector, and I have a very, very good LCD Sony projector which was used professionally in cinemas, and the picture quality and everything is astonishing. All that I have to say, when watched on the latest state-of-the-art 4K TVs, even on OLEDs and LED TVs, you get a lot more illumination on those sets than what you would get on projectors, and therefore there's better resolution and to detail, and depending on the game you're obviously engaging. If you're playing Fortnite, then everything projector is fine. But if you're looking at something like Resident Evil, which is quite dark and requires a lot of illumination, then 4K set will be a lot better. I mean 4K TV. Radical Gaming says it says he's in 4 Tarsus or WE. Radical Gaming says he has 55 inch, which is formidable, very large TV, 4K HDR UHD. You are talking heaven, sir. You really are. I go for 70 inch, but 55 inch is massive, and if you have PS4 Pro, the picture quality and the sound is just second to none. Similar to what you get on Xbox One X. They're absolutely terrific machines. Terrific. And don't forget, like on Xbox One X, with the backward compatibility, there are lots of games which have been remastered for 4K displays, so it's even an additional add-on. But by saying that, PlayStation Pro is an amazing machine. It really performs so well, and the quality, graphics and sound are just second to none. It's really amazing. And Radical Gaming says most games do not have native 4K. Unfortunately, that is the case, yeah. The blockbusters, the big ones, they have, particularly the recent ones. But on Xbox One X, they are making some of those which do not have it inherently, through the compatibility also accessible to 4K. So I've not tried some of those yet, because at the moment I'm doing everything on PlayStation 4. But in the near future, certainly within the next 6 months, we are going to be testing Xbox One X as well, and then we'll see what the performance is going to be like. And Radical Gaming says you're running maybe 2K resolution. Well, I have to tell you that I have the top-notch system in my office, but what happens is the local internet connection is not fiber optic, and the local the main provider in the UK, British Telecom, BT, for whatever reason are not willing to provide us with the fiber optic cables in the area where I live. So in order to make my stream viewable without buffering, I had to lower the resolution. So in fact I had to turn it down to 570 for the stream, rather than the usual 720, which is the standard, 720 high standard on PlayStation. But I had to really kind of turn it a bit down because I'd have problems with buffering and everything else. It's just that the internet speed is not as good as it should be, and I've had really tooth and nail battles with them already for months and months, and and Radical Gaming says, I got fiber optic and my download speed is 450. And what's your upload speed? Because for streaming, the upload speed is the most important one. Because my download speed is very, very good, but the upload speed is very poor. And there's no way I can do anything about it. It's just simply, the bandwidth that my operator EE is providing is not fast enough. Obsessed Pants is here. Hello, how are you doing, sir? Good to see you. Thank you for coming. Thank you for joining our community, our new community of Anthem gamers. Thank you for supporting this channel, for being here tonight. And Obsessed Pan says, PlayStation Pro got better graphics card and processor, so going forward, absolutely. Compared to ordinary PlayStation 4, PS Pro is much more advanced. It performs much better, it's faster, and also when you're downloading, you don't have to be waiting for too long. It is definitely much more advanced, and definitely PS4 is the way forward for anybody who's on PlayStation. Absolutely. In fact, I've seen some of those special editions, and they look really fantastic because they have a different kind of casing, which is similar to HP top-notch computers. You can see through everything. You can see whatever is inside of the machine, and then you have these beautiful illuminating lights. The one I've seen was blue and green, looked terrific. And the price was £700. So I'm not sure whether in the UK or in America, but £700 is rather steep, and that's for the design more than anything else. Radical Gaming says, my upload is 250. Are you in the UK or in the US? I'll be quite curious to hear, Radical Gaming. Because I've heard from some of my friends from the US that even on Wi-Fi, if they're on fiber optic, they're getting very, very high speed, which is like literally above 100. And that is astonishing, because in the UK we simply can't get the speeds to that level. So he said that, Radical Gaming said that his upload was 250. Well, 250 is just phenomenal. So if you are doing streams, then your streams are going to be looking absolutely gobsmacking, Obsessed Pan says the PlayStation 4 Pro will beat the Xbox. Well, it's possible, but at the same time, these are your two best companies, and obviously they're competitors. They're trying everything best already for good 18 years, and we'll have to see how it all evolves, They're all going digital. Physical drive-free is the next stage, and they, both companies talked about the next generation console, which is going to be provided without the drive. You will have everything done through the server. But the trouble there is the internet speed, because if you cannot access fiber optic, then there may be difficulties. So it will be very much dependent on the actual internet network, ISP. Radical Gaming says the Pro does beat the Xbox, and Radical Gaming says he's in North America, Canada. Well, in Canada, such great speeds as well. Fantastic to hear. Thank you for obviously letting me know. I really appreciate that. And like you said, the Pro does beat the Xbox. Well, I've talked to lots of gamers who are on either of the consoles. I myself, I use all platforms. I'm not just a PS4 gamer. I have Xbox as well as PC and tablet, and I game across all platforms. So there are pros and cons in every one, I think if you're looking at, for instance, the services which PlayStation currently provides as PlayStation Now, this is your Netflix for gaming, so to speak. You can stream the game straight away, play them wherever you are. You don't have to be downloading anything. Well, there are kind of, pluses and minuses there. On the upside, PlayStation now has some really rare PlayStation games, which otherwise you could not access from anywhere else. And so if you're a subscriber, you pay that monthly subscription and you can access them with ease whenever you are, you know. And there's a selection of very rare games, and there's a selection of the old kind of golden oldies, the games which were on PlayStation 2 and PlayStation 3 as well. And they are kind of beefing up on the number of titles. The downside is that all the blockbusters, they're not downloadable. Well, that makes it difficult for us, the Twitch broadcasters and streamers, because if the game is not downloadable, then we can't stream it, and that makes it more difficult. So when you go to Xbox, they have Game Pass, and they have lots of different games. They are superior to PlayStation in terms of the number and in terms of the selection, but they are more resorting to the commercial side of things, you know, so they don't have that many obscure games, and the vast majority can be also downloaded, which is obviously a plus for the streamers. But then again, Xbox and Microsoft, there's another kind of downside to that. Radical Gaming says, I heard the Xbox One X runs 720 resolution. I believe that's the case, yeah. I believe that for the current upload for the streams, that is what they can achieve. But this is likely to change with everything in the industry, you know, with internet speeds and everything else. And Obsessed Pants says, neither runs true 4K, 60 FPS is the key. Absolutely, sir, you're right. They are advertising this, but it's not really true 4K. It's the question of being able to do 60 FPS. And you know, the trouble is that technology is developing rapidly, and we have all kinds of you know, new devices invented, and who knows what direction the industry will take. It's hard to tell, but the way I see it is one or the other. If the gaming industry takes the, you know, digital only direction, meaning we'll have to be doing everything digitally, then the quality of one's internet connection will be the key as well. You know, fiber will then be absolutely a must. And if you can't get it in your local area, depending on the country, you know, some countries in Europe, smaller countries, they have everything with incredible speeds, much better than what we have in the UK. In the UK we are lagging behind. I think, I'm not mistaken, we were number 22, ranked number 22 in terms of internet speeds. And you know, you obviously can see my example. I live in a very well-to-do affluent area, but the local provider is just not willing to give cabling in this particular section of the town for whatever reason. And they even have local street exchanges labelled, we have fibre optic in this area, and then when you call them they say, well, yeah, but actually not in this street, we have it in some other section of the city. So what can I do? I'm particularly annoyed that the upload speed, which is so important, is then the major factor of interference with my streams, because the streams are not of visual quality as they should be, compared to other guys, let's say in Sweden or Norway, doing everything on the PCs and using fibre optic, where, you know, the image is so razor sharp that it's just simply mouth-watering, and we are dependent on, you know, our ISP and whatever they can offer. That's the trouble. Radical Gaming and Obsessed Pants, were you with us during the weekend? Were you doing also demoing of Anthem? Did you try the game? If so, what did you think? I'd said that I personally really look forward to the next weekend. I'll be very curious to see whether some of these technical issues indeed have been resolved, and I'm looking forward to see perhaps that extra content which they mentioned yesterday, whether this is to be some sort of announcement of the annual pass, or how they are going to be expanding the game after you came to the end. These were the questions raised about Mass Effect as well. You know, people say, well, how are you going to be able to keep the community together when you come to the end? Because you can replay it several times, but it's a massive, massive big game. So many quests and sub-quests and all that. What are you going to do to keep people together? And, you know, the fact is that people are playing Mass Effect still today and streaming it on Twitch, and there are some people who are really dedicated, both gamers and streamers of the game already for a great number of years. So I'm very, very excited about that. I want to see what other niceties BioWare are likely to produce. And as you know, Anthem has been the main project and the main focus of BioWare now for a number of years. And indeed, I'd be very surprised if you know, something was introduced that perhaps would be a bit unpopular or strange. And Mr. Span says, no, unfortunately, I was out of town on business, but following closely. Well, sir, I can tell you, you obviously missed out on the first weekend, but if you are able to engage with the second lot of testing, which will start on Friday, you are not going to be missing out on anything. In fact, there will be even a bonus on Sunday, because they are introducing extra content, and, you know, that's terrific. I'm also quite curious to see whether they will allow everybody else coming in on Friday to unlock all 4 Javelin suits, because initially BioWare said that during the demoing there'll be just 2, and then they unlocked all 4 because of the technical issues, and they said this was a gesture, you know, a goodwill gesture, and in support of everyone who was trying hard to really, you know, get through the game during the weekend. So if you are obviously going to be doing it on Friday, then check out the suits first and find out whether they're unlocked, and then you'll be able to experience it in full. Obsessed Pants, are you also in the US, in North America, or are you in the UK? I'm asking because I think the players in the US were experiencing fewer problems compared to the European players. That was my feeling after reading all the comments on Twitter that were going to BioWare. It seemed to me that the servers in the US kind of worked better, and the problems there were resolved quicker compared to the rest of the world. Yeah. Well, I think that in the US, the major platform experiencing issues was Xbox compared to PlayStation 4 and PC. At least that's the impression I had. I might be completely mistaken, but that's the impression I had. Because I got some messages from the US players on Xbox on Sunday saying, we've been trying for the 3rd day running to get in, we still can't log in. So I don't know what the problem was, but there was a problem with actually logging in, getting into the demo, and they were getting error messages saying the servers are down or something on, you know, something of that sort. Well, there's a lot to look forward to. When I start streaming Anthem on 22nd of February, which is going to be on its launch date, I will be doing it from the top tier edition, which is called Legion of Dawn. And Legion of Dawn contains several bits of extra kit, and I'll tell you exactly what that is. And what really excites me the most is that on that Legion of Dawn edition, I will have also that founder member banner, and I'm very, very glad to have learnt about it so early, because on this channel we have lots of Destiny veterans coming in, doing the gameplay together with me, and also participating in our community forums, discussing things, and, you know, being like really, really interactive and really connected with everyone. And there's quite a number of those guys who were testing Destiny during the beta testing days. So this would have been, I think, in 2013. So literally 2013, we're talking about 6 years ago. And the banner was not there in Destiny. I couldn't tell when, you know, doing things with them that they were there from the word go. But in Anthem, for anyone who pre-ordered, for anyone who ordered the Legion of Dawn edition, they are going to be granted that banner. So that's really quite something. Let me tell you what the other bits are on on that special edition. Just bear with me. So that's Legion of Dawn. So for anyone who pre-ordered, they will get Finder's Player banner, which I just described. I wonder what that's going to look like as well. That's just the other question I have. And then they'll get VIP access to the pre-launch demos, which is already what we experienced in the weekend. And then we will also get Anthem theme. Well, Anthem theme is very, very useful, because with a theme, it may be just like one slide or maybe several, and you get also music attached to it. So when I really set up a theme on my PlayStation, the entire aura of my console is changed. You know, you have your wallpaper, you have your music, everything feels and looks different. So that's terrific, and that's just for people who pre-order. So remember, if you order the game after the game's been released, you're not going to get it. So it's just for people who pre-order. So I'll repeat again, for pre-order, there are like 3 bonuses. Finder's Player banner, VIP access to pre-launch demos, which were already gone, and Anthem theme, which you are going to be able to upload. And in addition to that, so that's for the base game, if you are pre-ordering the Anthem Legion of Dawn edition, first of all, the bonus is you will get the complete set of Legion of Dawn armor packs, and there are 4 different armor packs, 1 per Javelin suit. So that's very important, very good. Secondly, you will get legendary weapons straight away. So you will start the game with a legendary weapon, which otherwise you will have to acquire, you know, during your grind. And you will get then your Javelin gear attachment, which is going to be very useful. And at the end, your 4th bonus is digital soundtrack of the game. And as you could hear, the soundtrack is just absolutely magnificent, literally contesting Destiny on that front with, you know, its magnificence in depth and everything else. We have some other people coming in here. Batamkula is here. Hello, Batamkula. Thanks very much for coming and for joining our community, for being here, for discussing Anthem in our feedback forum. And you're asking, is the beta of Anthem still up and running? I believe the question is regarding Anthem beta. Beta of Anthem is currently not running, and it will not be rerun. That is basically my understanding. Beta testing of Anthem was completed in December of last year, and we were given the VIP demo during the last weekend. Basically everyone who pre-ordered the game and everyone who's on Origins of Electronic Arts, in order to test the demo. The demo is not like an ordinary one, because it contains 8 hours of footage and 8 hours of kind of story related and everything else, you know, story mission related. And basically it felt like a beta test, but actually it wasn't, you know. It was a test of that demo, a vast demo, providing us with a lot of access to gameplay. And then we also could fight the Stronghold mission. And the Stronghold missions in Anthem are similar to what we have as raids in Destiny. So, if you're interested, then you can rejoin us. Well, you can join us, in fact, on Friday. Because if you download that demo, I'm talking to Batamkula, if you download the demo on your console or your PC, you are going to be able to access the game, and then you can play it for the whole weekend. Daddy Splatty is asking, aren't the servers down? Well, indeed, they are. The servers for Anthem have been switched off on Sunday, and they will be switched back on Friday of this week. So at the moment, we are not able to access the content at all. But I'm running a daily feedback Q&A session in order to hear from our community members what the experience of Anthem demo was. And then once I collate all the information, I will forward it to BioWare, you know, the developer of Anthem. No worries, Daddy Splatty. Daddy Splatty is saying, awesome, thank you very much. Bear with me, sir. I will tell you exactly when the servers are going to be switched back on. I have it here at the front of me. So basically, if you're wondering when you are going to be able to access Anthem demo, this is the open demo on Friday. The servers are going to be switched on Friday, February the 1st. at 9 AM Pacific time, midday, noon, 12 o'clock Eastern time, and 5 o'clock PM UK time. I'll repeat again for Daddy Splatty. The servers are going to be switched back on February the 1st at 9 o'clock AM Pacific, 12 o'clock midday Eastern, and 5 o'clock PM UK. Okay? And this demo is going to be up and running until end of Sunday, and they will switch off the servers again on Sunday, February the 3rd at 8 PM Pacific, 11 PM Eastern, and 4 AM UK time. Repeat again, the service will be switched off on February the 3rd at 8 o'clock PM Pacific, 11 o'clock PM Eastern, and 4 AM UK time. And as you know, Anthem is a fully multiplayer type of game, and we will need to have a like an active internet connection in order to access any content and everything. Although Anthem is also going to be providing single player missions, in order to play the game, one will have to be connected to the internet. Although I believe that the best, the biggest, the greatest, the most rewarding experience of Anthem is going to be through multiplayer. When you have a team of 4 donning their 4 separate javelin suits and then cracking on with the missions. And that will bring in the extra community element and connectivity and all other aspects of online gaming, which we obviously love the most. Connectivity and communication being the base, the essence at all times. Daddy Splatty says, perfect, thank you so much. Well, my pleasure, sir, and thank you for coming, and thank you for being here for our feedback session. The session is here on every day of this week in order to provide our community members with a forum to basically feedback their experiences, to tell us what they've seen and how they felt about Anthem, and also first and foremost what their anticipations are, what they expect from the game, what they would like to see, all of those kinds of issues. And I received quite a few messages since yesterday. We had quite a busy Q&A, although I have to say the first Q&A on Monday was astonishingly busy. I couldn't believe that when I started the session, 50 people were there waiting already, and that's quite something considering Anthem is a game to come. It's not even out yet, and we had some really good discussion on all of those ins and outs, but obviously everyone on Monday was very perturbed by the technical problems. We could, myself included, we couldn't really divorce ourselves from that, so that was very troubling. But we've gone through that, we know what the problems were, and we did receive responses from BioWare on all these issues, and I felt that their teams literally worked 24/7 and tried to resolve every, one of those issues to the best of their ability. So they were very responsive, and we had responses from the executive responsible for the live operations, Mr. Chad Robinson. We had lots of responses from the overall manager of the project, Casey Hudson. You will remember Mr. Hudson is also the person behind Mass Effect Trilogy. And then there was Sila Costa as well, the lead producer, and he worked on all of the projects in the last 15 years. So, they were literally on the top of it. But then, this is the first major multiplayer game produced by BioWare. They're not a company that previously would have been known for multiplayers, so therefore the issues were there. But I guess we are all there to kind of provide them with feedback, and more information they get, the better. I just always ask people to be polite and civilized. I did see some really offensive and off-putting comments which people leaving on the Twitter, and it's definitely not a way to treat a company that spent 7 years developing the game, and they're doing everything possible to make sure that the gameplay is going to be as pleasant as expected, and that the game will be as vast and as exciting as we all anticipate it to be. So one can just provide polite views or lengthy emails describing what the problems were. Lots of people threatened to cancel the orders, and no need for that. You know that BioWare are going to be producing a fantastic game. So, So I take it that everyone who's here with us tonight has either taken part in the VIP demo test during this weekend, or indeed will be joining us on Friday to experience Anthem for the first time. And I certainly know for myself, I do not like watching pre-release videos and streams and all of that. You know, I like doing it by myself and experiencing it firsthand. And I had several of my Destiny veteran community members during the last couple of days coming in and saying, well, we didn't really watch your stream this weekend because we don't want to kind of spoil it for ourselves. We want to see the game when it comes out. Oh, Sniper King's here. Hello, sir. How are you? Long time no see. I guess you're busy. I guess similar to myself, but very good to see you. Just to update you, Mr. Sniper King, on what we've been doing during the last couple of days. We are running our daily Anthem feedback session. An Anthem feedback session is dedicated to everyone who already tried the VIP demo, and we are trying to collate opinions, thoughts and views on the game in order for those to be forwarded to BioWare. And you know, so we had spent already, well, I spent my whole weekend testing the demo, and then the last 3 days we had sort of 2-hour sessions on the Anthem feedback as well. Sniper King says, yeah, trying to be. I am doing all right. Well, that's wonderful to hear, sir. Just for the rest of the viewers and other people who joined our community today, Sniper King is one of our dedicated Destiny veterans and community members. Two of us played many missions together and talked on air quite a few times about Destiny, Bungie and everything video gaming related. And we are going to do that again, no doubt. Be it with Destiny or maybe even with Anthem. So I'm quite curious to hear from Sniper King, are you also excited about Anthem? Are you going to be buying the game and, you know, playing it at some point? Are you expecting it to be close to Destiny, or, you know, what are your expectations, or what have you heard? Rebellion 123 is here as well, saying hello everyone. Hello Rebellion, good to see you. Thank you for coming and thank you for watching my broadcast, being obviously a member of our community. Thank you for that, really appreciate it, and thank you for communicating. We all are discussing Anthem and our experiences of the VIP demo from last weekend, and talking about our anticipations and expectations for the next weekend, and indeed for the actual game release date on 22nd of February. Just to let you know that I am running a small donor campaign which is collecting some community support for my Anthem streams, and you can access the campaign if you're interested on my Twitter and also on Instagram. There is a description there on what I'm doing with the campaign, and I'm very grateful for all of your support which has been received so far, because I did have a lot of interest which was displayed on Twitter and on Instagram, and I will tell you straight away. The most recent people who were offering support were as follows, so just bear with us, I'll tell you. We have Yin Yang, we have we have Yin Yang, we have Gamer Space, we have Obelisk, we have Little Mutants, Rampage Manor, Anthem Gameplay, Joe Serious TV, Fallen Secret, Rocket DTV, Elite Wolf, Matteo Obion, Elizabeth Oya, Killery96, Billy Gaff, Rather Ravager Gamer, and Papa Fosse. These are the guys supporting the campaign on Twitter. Thank you very much. On Instagram, I beg your pardon. Thank you very much, guys, for supporting the campaign. And we have a few more as well, so I'll tell you exactly who they are. Just bear with us. Elite Wolf, Big Al 84, Evitamore, Game Scenery, Obelisk, Freak TV. Those guys are supporting the campaign as well, so thank you very much for that. Thank you for your support. And I'll tell you in a moment about Twitter as well, so just bear with us. Sniper King says, you know, I haven't heard anything about it. I'm keeping this game very, very dark, but I will most likely get it, but probably not on the release day. Well, I can certainly tell you that a lot of my Destiny veteran friends were in two minds about Anthem, because they've read lots of news which released through online forums, and these news indicated that perhaps Anthem will be very similar to Destiny. And I can certainly tell you from my personal experience of the demo during the weekend that this is actually very, very far from truth. If Anthem is similar to any other game, then that will be definitely Mass Effect. And Mass Effect was produced by BioWare as well, the same company, the same developer. And some of the flavors that you get when you start walking around is very similar to Mass Effect Trilogy. But in terms of Destiny, the concept is similar. Open world, you have lots of characters whom you meet, you have firefights, you have enemies, you have various types of missions, but Anthem seems to be more focused on RPG element in addition to the actual firefights, and then it combines the achievements better than Mass Effect with all the other activities. So that was my first experience. You know, I played quite a bit over the weekend, and also the demo, which we are going to be able to play on Friday, is going to have a special content edition on Sunday. So it is not going to be the same. Well, initially it will be for the 2 days, but on Sunday we'll be given an extra content which has been confirmed by one of the executives, Mr. Chad Robertson, and we're really looking forward to that. Also, they said on Sunday they will announce something special which is game related, and we're all expecting it to be related to the end game process. You know, what will happen once we complete a game? Will there be another annual pass? Will there be another season? Or, you know, what will happen with the game at the end? So these are the news which we are likely to be receiving on Sunday afternoon. Everyone's excited, and I can certainly most highly recommend you the game. You know that I'm a kind of a hardcore Destiny follower, and indeed a great fan of Mass Effect, one of my favorite RPG games of all times. And I can certainly tell you that I've been very elated and very excited about Anthem from the word go, and obviously after trying it even more so. So definitely a massive new game to come out of BioWare, and definitely a game which will generate very, very many fans, lovers and community followers. I'm certain about that. And I'm quite certain that when the Destiny veterans try it, they'll say, well, the game is significantly different to Destiny, and therefore we can always play it together. You know, we can swing from one game to another, and it will never be repetitive, boring or tedious. So I'll tell you now about people supporting the campaign on Twitter. So bear with me. I've read lots of these guys who are supporting it on Instagram, and now we'll see what we have on Twitter. Gemini Roinin just tweeted, and he said, "Looks like a contract to me," meaning he loved it. Well, thank you, sir, for your response. Really appreciate it. I will be retweeting your response immediately, and I will provide it also to BioWare. I'm very glad to hear that you feel this looks like a contract. And then we have Calio Gablimo. He was asking about the third person versus the first person, and he kind of quite liked the idea of being able to play the entire game as a third person shooter rather than the first person. He had some concerns about our walkabout in Fort Tarsis, and I will forward his concerns to BioWare as well. I did ask him as well to write to BioWare and express his concerns that this would be his personal preference, and perhaps BioWare will make it accessible for people to switch from one to another. You know, if people were asking as much, then certainly there is a possibility. I think the games like The Witcher and Oblivion and Elder Scrolls overall, they have this facility through which you can just switch from one perspective to another, and I think that is quite good. I think it's probably the best left with that kind of option in place. We have then Resmi and Anthem HQ. We have I'm King Prey Martel. I'm pleased to say that Mr. Casey Hudson, the general manager, he responded to some of my feedback and tweets as well. He liked what I've done there with a couple of screenshots. Mr. Hudson liked the screenshot of two kind of shady characters in one of the corridors based at Fort Tarsis, and then he also liked my screenshot when I was learning to fly. So I'm very grateful for Mr. Hudson for liking those and paying attention to obviously engaging with our community. And I'm King Prey Mattel also supported some of the postings in there. We have Motavi, we have Anthem Gaming Community as well. We have Sila Costa, he is one of the lead producers of BioWare, and one of the, well, he's the lead producer of Anthem, one of the most senior people involved with the game. He was actually doing the premiere of Anthem VIP demo on IGN on Thursday. He also liked several bits of feedback which I provided. He was very grateful for my feedback, which said, technical issues aside, the game looked and felt incredible, astonishing open world with abundance of action and dialogue. I cannot wait for 22nd of February. This was my feedback, and he really liked that. And he also liked the pointer, which is asking people to be watching screenshots and gameplay videos. And I said that Javelin suits are awesome, and the open world was vast, mysterious, and greatly unpredictable, and I enjoyed it most thoroughly. So I thank Mr. Hudson and Mr. Costa for their comments and views, and obviously for embracing our feedback. Very grateful for that. And then we have Eric Poli, Molly Games, supporting the campaign, Berserk supporting campaign, Robin Sign supporting the campaign. We have Negawu supporting the campaign, Lilith is supporting the campaign, and I'm very grateful to Twitch community and Support Small Streamers community. They're both Twitch related, they are supporting the campaign. Miss Alley Cat, and we have also Kate's Queen and Weasel Base. Miss Alley Cat and Kate's Queen, they are Destiny veterans, so very grateful for their support. I guess you guys are going to be also coming in and supporting Anthem as well and playing it as well. And the list goes on and on. I do not want to bore you with all the names of those dedicated community members who are supporting both Anthem and the campaign. So let's have a look. I've got messages coming in, and Obsessed Pants is here, and he says, like Destiny, but thought Mass Effect Andromeda was a bomb. Well, I have to tell you, you're not the only one. I think I always make references to the Mass Effect trilogy, and Andromeda is kind of extracted from that because it was another installment. But don't forget that they brought in a different crew to do the game, and that itself was of detriment to the reception and everything else. And I think there's always a great danger if you're bringing in another studio to do what's been, you know, considered to be a legendary game, and you know, it obviously backfired on all levels. So what can I say? And I'm just hoping that still could be made good at some stage, but so far it hasn't happened. I must say that the number of people who were making similar remarks here on my channel was also very, very great. You know, because I talk about Mass Effect quite a lot there when talking about Destiny and Anthem, and they always make this point that Mass Effect Andromeda was actually not particularly well received. And Obsessed Pants says, I will be waiting and see before I buy. I guess you'll be waiting and, you know, you'll wait and see regarding Anthem, right? Before Anthem comes out. I think it's wise to be able to see the responses, but at the end of the day, I would also caution everyone a bit. If you have lots of negative feedback, you know, it's probably the best to experience the game, and if one is not sure, maybe one can watch some of the streams and find out for oneself. Because don't forget, BioWare do face stiff competition in the market, and they have you know, serious other competitors who are likely to be monitoring very carefully what the responses are. So you know the way it goes. You get sometimes pre-release reviews, and sometimes they're not particularly rosy, and you know, all of that. So beware when it comes to some of the feedback. I'd say the first experience of the game was very positive, the technical issues aside, and I'm certainly hoping that the release date will prove me right. And Obsessed Pants 16 says Mass Effect 2 is my favorite BioWare. Well, I can certainly tell you, sir, that Mass Effect 2 is one of my favorite games of all times. It is just an incredible achievement. I remember playing it after doing Mass Effect 1, and I just couldn't believe it. And you know, it's so advanced and so immersive, and with so many different missions and sub-quests. And what I particularly liked also was the different outcomes you'd receive depending on the type of approach you were pursuing. You know, the way you talk to your characters and whether you came across as polite or abrasive, and etc. And, you know, it's really making a very, very big difference to the way you experience the game. I just loved it. I think it's an outstanding achievement. Whether Anthem is going to be surpassing it remains to be seen, because Anthem is much more complex. You know, they did simplify the RPG element with maybe less of a dialogue or a few options given. I'd probably say few options given rather than less dialogue, because the characters I talk to in 4 tasks, they talked a lot, but the options given for me to respond were fewer than in Mass Effect 2. So in Mass Effect I have like 5 or 6 options, right, with the answers, and in this instance we were given 2, and these 2 were being pursued with every single character. One was understanding and the other was a bit arrogant. That was the basic difference. Joel Wolfteen is here. Hello, Joel Wolfteen. Thank you for coming, and thank you for joining our community. I really appreciate that you are here with us, you know, with all of our community members for our Anthem feedback. Thank you for joining, and thank you for coming. And Joe the Wolfteen says, super. I guess this was related to Obsessed Pants comment about Mass Effect 2. We all agree Mass Effect 2 is a tremendous game, very successful, and indeed the sort of one of the best of that kind ever made. And Obsessed Pants says, still play multiplayer regularly. Mass Effect, right? You still play Mass Effect on a regular basis. And Joe Wolfteen says, I'm a small streamer, and Joe says only get about 3 and 4 views. And then Obsessed Pan says, Joe, me too, somebody's watching. Well, thank you guys for being honest and being, you know, able to share those views and experiences with us. I'm really grateful for that. Well, I can only tell you that doing broadcasts is a very tiring experience. It requires a lot of patience, a lot of knowledge and skill, and it does require a lot of extra input which is non-stream based. By that I mean one has to grow all the social networking forums, you know, on Twitter, on Facebook, on Instagram, YouTube, any other as well, Snapchat, you know, you name it, any forum that will have something visual, and then basically grow the community. And I'll tell you one thing, if you say, well, I'm just getting about 3 hours, 4, and each one of them is a dedicated veteran of the game which you're streaming, your community will grow exponentially. The reason is simple. The 4 veterans will provide you with quality content and information on the game that you're streaming, which will be appreciated by anyone else who comes in, be it through your live broadcast or through your broadcasts which are in your archive, right? So it's all about the quality content, and it's about patience. I guess we are given a wrong picture when browsing, you know, for different forums, because you get images of Dr. Disrespect or Ninja or people who are the most successful streamers, and whenever you look at the channel there will be dozens of thousands of viewers and, you know, have millions of followers. There are certain reasons as to why those people got to that level, and growing your channel is something that takes a lot of time and patience and focus and attention and careful selection. I think the key in that is what game you select to stream, and also at what time, at what hour, you know? Because certain games which are oversaturated, like PUBG or like Fortnite, they have hundreds of thousands of streamers and viewers, and in order to draw certain attention, one will have to have the original content streamlined through the social networking forums in order for others to pick up on the key value, and that takes a lot of time. So one has to be really kind of focused and patient. The way I see it is, before doing anything else, just a word of advice to Obsessed Pants and Joe Wolf Teen. Before you do anything else, just focus on your community. Build your community. And Sniper King is here and he says, well, that's very true. Sniper King can tell you that any time we did some missions on Destiny 1 and we played together in a team, we always had other veteran Destiny community members coming in and providing us with high quality content. And the high quality content was always through the views, through the thoughts, through the comments, general help and advice, you know, and sharing those experiences. Most frequently the experiences were that specific game related, but not only just, you know, you have sometimes discussions on other video games and other aspects of the industry. Sometimes we talked a lot about developers, particularly the gamers who were with certain developers for, you know, quite a few years. So it's that sort of content which will be drawing attention from others. Obsessed Pants says, I stream Fallout 4 Survival most, so requires viewers' participation. Requires viewers' patience, I guess, I beg your pardon. Well, Fallout 4 is a fantastic game, and it does have a lot of followers out there. The community of followers is vast, and you'll find that the vast majority of people who are doing Fallout 4 would have been with Fallout 3 and, you know, Vegas, and now Fallout 76. So those are the guys really knowledgeable on, you know, the entire selection of episode installments, if you want. And the idea would be to target those communities. If you want to be growing your viewership, what you can do is you can set up on Instagram your regular updates with interesting content which is Fallout related. So for instance, what you can do is, if you're playing on PlayStation or the console, you can take screenshots, and the screenshots could be of these interesting situations, you know, or you can have like an interesting, beautiful perspective on certain scenery. And then when you put your comments in there before you post to Instagram, write something which is really original, so something which is either funny or entertaining, something which is in sync with your character. Remember that. Don't write anything which is not in sync with your character, because your character will come across through the way you stream, the way you talk, the way you engage, the way you discuss things, yeah? So always make comments which are in sync with your character. But just coming back to Fallout 4, if you're streaming Fallout 4, make sure that all of your social networking on Twitter, on Facebook and Instagram are tied in with Fallout. Variety streamers are people who would have done a single game streaming for quite some time, and then later, after they had a big community built, would bring in other games. Do you know? I don't advise anyone to do variety streams at the beginning. That's never going to work. Well, in my experience, it could, well, you may be lucky. You know, you may have a community of people coming in immediately. But as a matter of principle, what you want is you want to build the quality content from the word go. Obsessed Pan says, I stream Fallout 4 Survival, so it requires viewers' patience. We said that already. Sniper King says, yeah, I did that when I was streaming Destiny and doing like a walkthrough of raids, and so many people came and helped out with questions that I didn't answer, as I was either explaining something or I was doing the raid. But then if the next day I went to a different game, I had significantly fewer viewers. You could see that. Well, this is the best possible description that Sniper King is giving us, basically on what can happen, because a lot of people, and I, you know, thank you very much, Sniper King, for disclosing the information, because it's very helpful for the junior streamers and people who are kind of new to streaming to learn that. One of the big problems that people have, and that's purely on the technical front, is, you know, when you have your display, like you're looking at my display right now on your screen, and you will see that my display is always containing that chat on the right-handed side. The chat is always there, which means it doesn't matter what I'm doing, I will always see instantly in the corner of my eye that the messages are coming in. So what I'll do is I will simply address the fact that I'm maybe in the middle of a firefight or something. I can't respond immediately, but people communicating will feel that they're being heard, they're being seen. I did see from lots of postings on my Twitter coming from many of my Twitch associates that they're usually running the chat separate from the gameplay. So you will have your chat display either on a tablet or on a separate monitor, and you're focused on the gameplay of the game, which is basically spread out through the entire screen. That is something which can cause concerns, because if you miss out on incoming messages, and don't get me wrong, if you're having, let's say, 5,000 people watching and messages keep coming instantly in huge numbers, then it's very hard to pick up on every one of those. But for people who are providing quality content, or a fewer participants, I think it's fundamental that they're always being picked up on, either by directly responding immediately or addressing the fact that the messages are coming in, and you say, well, actually, I'm in the middle of a firefight, just please bear with us, or wait for us for a little while, and then once we finish, we respond. So you engage with them, because online gaming, and particularly online streaming, is all about communication. It's all about connecting with people who are otherwise unknown, but actually are sharing the same interest and the same love of a particular medium. It could be a video game, could be films, could be music, you name it. But the connectivity will be literally on that level. And like Sniper King said, if he was really busy with the game and he missed out on certain things coming in, or he was explaining something, then there could be sometimes the feeling that he missed out on certain messages, and at the same time, if you had quite a few people coming in and you were doing the game and you were responding either to them or you were explaining basically how to do certain things, you would be indeed keeping that community together. If you are changing the game and you're doing something else, first of all, you're being brought in to a different section of Twitch. Don't forget people who are the followers of, let's say, Fallout 76 or Fallout franchise or Mass Effect. They'll be continuously revisiting the section which is dedicated to that particular game, and they will also leave alerts when particular gamers are online. So from that point of view, if you're switching a game, you're not getting the same amount of attention, and that frequently is a problem. Obsessed Pan says, I write my own stories, so I've dedicated followers who pop, and I fill them in on my story. It's called Who the Hell is Sean? Yeah, I mean, if you are writing something which is funny and original, then certainly you will be drawing attention. And I would just like to say to everyone, if you're wanting to grow your community, Instagram and Twitter are literally your best bet. Instagram has more than 1 billion users worldwide, and it is astonishing when you have something which is under the spotlight. You put something on Instagram which is connected, let's say with Anthem, when Anthem is being tested during the weekend. The number of people that will come in and have a look at it is astonishing. So make sure that you jump on that and you provide something which is considered to be very interesting content, and also keep the overall picture in mind, focused. You want your Instagram or your Twitter to have a certain direction. Don't hop from one idea to another. Keep the focus, keep the direction there. If you like sci-fi games, then focus on one game, but feed some other information which is related to other sci-fi games as well. Try to bring in other people who are interested in the same field. But still, I believe that building a community of dedicated gamers to one particular game is one of the best ways of building any form of channel on Twitch and doing broadcasting. Because as you could see, we have a broadcast on Anthem tonight, and we've had probably more than 150 people that would have come in and gone during the last couple of hours. And some people ask questions, some people, obviously open up issues which are Anthem related, but other questions would have come in which are streaming related, and we just broaden, our horizon of ideas, and then our discussion was just freely flowing. I think that's the idea. That's the idea. This is what you want to get with your content, and this is what you want to get on the channel overall. But really, the most important thing, and I'm sure Sniper King will tell you this, is how you come across when you do your streams. Some people use video camera, to be visible. Other people, like myself, do it more like a kind of radio coverage. Depends on what is more suited to your personality, depending on how you want to be seen, depending on how you want to come across. These are all kinds of issues which are equally important. And for instance, with Anthem, I think what I will try to do also is to attract many followers of Mass Effect as well as Destiny, because people who are Mass Effect fans, they will find obviously the home in Anthem straight away. It looks very, very appealing. Tarsus does have some resemblance to Normandy, so it's just the question of bringing people together from two separate communities. One is the Destiny community, and I have lots of people who are already engaging with the channel, and then I have Mass Effect community, and I've not been really connecting with them through my broadcast. I have done through my other forums, but not through the broadcast. So I think this is what I will probably do during the next 4 weeks. In fact, I'm very grateful for your comments, guys, because this has just occurred to me as I talked on air. So you actually triggered off my you set my wheels in motion, because I was thinking what would be the other way for myself, and that is the way. Because I'm sure that the veteran members of Mass Effect trilogy and the veteran members of Destiny, once brought together, will have plenty to talk about. And Sniper King says, and the biggest thing in streaming is just be yourself. Don't let little things get to you. If you see something that bothers you, just skip over it and not worry about it. Well, I absolutely agree with that 100%. Absolutely. I know from some of the junior broadcasters, they get upset if people are leaving kind of defamatory comments, or they say something offensive and all that. I use modifiers, right? And it is stated very clearly on everywhere to do with my channel that this is a family-friendly channel. And then when you click on chat, first time you're accessing it, it gives you a set of rules, what people shouldn't say. So principally, if everyone reads the set of rules, then they will know that swear words are not allowed, defamatory comments are not allowed, anything which is offensive, nothing which is focused on negative side of competition, like a negative criticism and that. If anybody does that, the modifier will automatically ban them straight away, and they can't get back in. So what Sniper King said was that there could be sometimes comments and things coming in which could be upsetting or annoying, and you simply have to be doing with them on a matter-of-the-factly basis, and you have to focus on your task. Your task is to broadcast to the best of your abilities, to engage your community, to build your community, and to provide a high-quality content. That is all you need to be focused on, nothing else. In fact, I was in my local CX. CX is the best software, second-hand software store in the UK. We have lots of branches countrywide, and they have excellent staff members working there, and these guys know everything about gaming and software and tech and all this. And I talked to one of the chaps the other day, and we were discussing Red Dead Redemption, and he was playing Red Dead Redemption 1 originally, and he was now doing Red Dead Redemption 2, and he completed the game and all this, and then he told me that the game was absolutely astonishing, amazing, he loved it, it was fantastic, everything was absolutely beautiful. And then he subscribed to Red Dead Online, and he said that was everything, but it was highly toxic. Anytime he went in, there was all kinds of abuse on display, be it either through comments or through the gamer behavior. And I said, well, what you can do is simply to ignore it and find your own space in there. But he seemed to have been a bit affected by it. You could tell that he loved the base of the game, well, the game on PS4, and then once accessing it online, which surprisingly already made accessible by Rockstar, it was a completely different experience. And I think that one simply should be a bit detached, because if you are to be dwelling on some comments coming in on certain things which are not working out, then you're digressing from the real task, and your real task is building a community. So for instance, the real task that I have at the moment is to build my community of Anthem followers, you know? And I have to make sure that I will not be upsetting the Destiny or Mass Effect veterans, because people may find something greatly enjoyable in Anthem, and they may find some areas which are too similar to the other games and therefore off-putting. You know, so the idea is just focus on quality content and really focus on what you can do whilst building your own community. And as I said, really to Obsessed Pants and also to Joe Wolf team, focus on not the sheer number but the quality. It doesn't matter whether you have, let's say, 4 people watching or 400. If you have 4 people watching who are consistently dedicated to your stream, to your content, who are communicating, providing you with high quality comments and views, they are going to be drawing other people in. And also what you can stimulate with your community members and people who follow you is to chat, to type as much as possible, and make sure that the chat is visible on your screen. Remember that. That's incredibly important. People don't realize that, because I've seen people running streams without their chat on display. You have got to have your chat on display, because people will know that at that point you are receiving the messages and you are responding. So, you know, these are just, you know, a couple of tips really. I know that some people do not like chat on display because they think it's interfering with the actual gaming and the visuals, but at the end of the day, these are broadcasts, and sometimes I get also people coming in as Fire Team members who are just forgetting that this is a public broadcast. You know, they think, oh, it's just like an online gaming with somebody privately. Well, it isn't. You have lots of people watching, and sometimes even if you are, like myself, having multiple streams, and you know, you stream on like 5, 10, 15 different platforms, you actually do not know how many people are watching because they're being streamed on different platforms. And so that also has to be kept in mind when doing the broadcast, you know. And Obsessed Pants says, I prefer a few dedicated followers to many casual. Of course. But just I want to tell you something. If you are getting people who are saying something which you don't like, or the content which might be considered offensive or rude to others, then use modifiers. Use modifiers and just make sure that these guys never cross your mind, you know. You leave it to modifiers to deal with this, and you focus on your quality content. Kiko Jossi 11 is here. Hello Kiko Jossi, how are you? Thanks for coming. Thank you for joining our broadcast. Thank you for being a member of our community, and thank you for watching the channel and joining our Anthem community, which is currently being built. Kiko Jossi is asking, will the servers be up today at all? The BioWare servers or the Anthem servers will not be up at all today. They have been up and running between Friday and Sunday last week or last weekend, and they will be switched back on Friday again for another 3-day run, and then they will be switched off for another 3 weeks, and then they will be fully enabled on the 22nd of February for everyone to access them, and obviously for everybody who have purchased the game. The actual release date is on 22nd of February. I've also heard, but that's not fully confirmed, that some of the gamers who are on Electronic Arts Origin scheme are likely to be able to get early access of the full game on the 15th of February. So if you're interested, if you want to be one of those guys, then you need to go to Electronic Arts and you need to ask them directly. I've seen that mentioned in various forums, but I didn't see that for the postings on Electronic Arts websites, and I've not had it confirmed by EA. So principally, I'm not sure whether it is going to be or not, because BioWare were running early access through the VIP demo. I'm not sure whether this is going to be possible from the 15th. I know for certain that the game should be fully ready for the full launch on the 22nd. The only thing which could interfere or prevent it from a proper planned launch would be some of those difficulties which we experienced on the technical front during this weekend. So that might be interfering. But I'm hoping that 4 weeks will be, you know, enough time for all these issues to be resolved, because what they do not want is a kind of launch, which could be then plagued by many complaints due to the technical issues, and they will try to prevent that even if they delay the game, almost certainly, because they were really staggered by the number of complaints coming in earlier during the demo testing on Friday. But at the end of the day, it is obvious that the complaints were justified. People on Friday couldn't log in, and this was at the end of the day called VIP demo, and the demo was to be provided especially to those people who pre-ordered the game. Many of those people pre-ordered the top tier edition, which is the Legion of Dawn edition. So obviously they paid £80, or $80 for the game, and they would have been very unhappy that the VIP access was not provided. But these things happen, and what else could we do but to remain patient and then wait until some of these issues were fully resolved. So that's all I can say. Suspense is asking, I watched the stream earlier and streamer was dropping. I can't read the last bit, I can't read the last bit because it's a family-friendly channel, and he says this guy was doing it also with children in his room, with kids in the room. What can I tell you? There are lots of streamers out there, and people do things differently, but I certainly, from my professional point of view, would not advise doing anything like that. You will find that the streamers who are with the greatest number of followers, they refrain from that kind of behavior. Yeah, Obsessed Pants just reiterated that this was that word. I know, yeah. I didn't want to pronounce it because it's a family-friendly channel. But you know what I mean. Try to think. When you watch something on the TV, or when you are choosing what to read in the newspapers, you will be obviously looking for something that interests you. You'll be looking for certain kinds of role models. You'll be looking for certain kinds of views, certain types of thoughts. And then your choices will be tailored to what you want to see on your TV screen, or at the front of you, in a newspaper or magazine. It's down to the person. And if somebody is then saying that, well, I'm not generating any interest, well, one has to re-examine the entire procedure for which one wants to generate that interest, and I would advise everyone against that kind of language and that kind of behavior, because Twitch is so easily accessible on any platform. Sniper King could tell you, he probably would have seen that several times. I've had teenagers watching my stream whilst we're doing firefights in Destiny, whilst they were attending their school classes. They're literally in the class and they were watching the stream on their mobile phone, right? And I find that astonishing. So some of them conveyed that information to me, and I said, can you please not do that? Because you are kind of breaking the rules in your school, and if you're caught watching Twitch whilst you're supposed to be doing math or doing physics, there's going to be trouble, right? But what I'm trying to say is that the access is so instant, and it's so easy to watch Twitch that one should keep in mind that the family-friendly element is equally important. And you probably would have seen when you're setting up your Twitch channel an option in there which is asking for people to state whether the channel is going to have mature content. So swearing is a mature content, and if somebody is clicking on mature content only, then this will be affecting how the algorithm is actually streaming that channel, which means they may be offered to fewer viewers. It will be just for people who want to be watching mature content. Do you see what I mean? So there are certain ways on Twitch which could be controlling what types of content is being offered, but I think a lot of people forget about settings and don't really enable this because they'll be concerned that they'll be drafted to a few viewers and all of that. Obsessed Pan says, well, that's definitely not cool, and I told him so, and his reply was worse. Well, I could well imagine, I could well imagine that somebody who is doing this, if confronted, would be, rather unpleasant. And unfortunately, there are unpleasant people out there. But on the other hand, I can tell you, they're being outflanked by many other very pleasant people. And I did have a couple of times on my broadcast a single person coming in and trying to boast about his scores, and all the other Destiny veterans immediately jumped in a very comedic kind of funny fashion, and then the person wasn't coming back anymore, because the public broadcast is not here, well, my public broadcast is not here in order to show off. It is all about connectivity and content. And there are forums and channels which are purely competitive, where people can be comparing scores and boasting, and that's fine, but different channels will provide different content. Kiko Jossi says, I hit you with a follow. Well, thank you so much, sir. I've seen, actually, as we were talking, that you also sent me a friend request. At the end of this broadcast, I will accept your friend request. Thank you so much for that. Really appreciate it, and thank you for supporting both my channel and the broadcast. Really appreciate it. But as you would have heard during the broadcast, what I don't do is, during the broadcast, I don't really kind of flick through everything incoming on various forums. I always focus on the communication, what comes in on the chat, because that is my main lifeline with all of the community members. And I always want to make sure that I'm responding and connecting as quickly as I can, because doing broadcasting is something that should never ever be a solitary activity. It always has to be. It has to be connected to the viewers, and it has to be really focused on building a community of those who want to be sharing what they love doing and communicating about it. Kiko Jossi says, very nice content. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate your kind words. Appreciate that indeed you are liking what you hear and what you see here. That's wonderful. I hope you are going to be a member of our Anthem community as well, because we already have our Destiny community well embedded in this channel, but Anthem community is the next step, and the idea is that we have the gamers who are kind of in love with certain kind of gaming. So when you play Anthem, when you play Mass Effect, when you play Destiny, there's always something in common in there. And Zespans says, I don't swear, but it's mature content. I warn people, but you can't control who watches, and I second that. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. You have no control over who's watching what you do in a public broadcast. It is identical to what you do if you're broadcasting on a major television station. And you will know that the major television stations have everything prohibited which would be considered offensive, because you never know who's watching, right? So you have a content delivered to a very, the widest possible audience, and therefore there are certain rules. And I would advise everyone who does broadcasting on Twitch to do exactly the same. And you know why? Because Twitch is your new television. Twitch is, at this moment, at its very, very beginning of the existence. It's evolved tremendously during the last 2 years, and it will completely overtake everything we know as TV. The number of people using Twitch, watching channels, creating content is astonishing, and it will completely take over. You will see in 5 years the number of viewers for the conventional TV will massively, massively drop, and the interest for specific channels on Twitch will massively grow. And I'll tell you what, Variety, the entertainment newspaper, right? the leading industry publication, had confirmed recently that Dr. Disrespect, one of the most successful streamers on Twitch, had been embraced by the agency representing the biggest Hollywood stars. So that's actually the first occurrence of that sort. So if a booking agent managing the greatest Hollywood stars is basically branching out into Twitch and embracing some of the most successful streamers, it tells you what actually is going on out there in the community and how the entire activity is being viewed. And you do have some people who were, from doing broadcasts and streams in their bedroom, become huge celebrities. and in a very, very short period of time. In fact, I can tell you, there is a streamer who is also an associate here on Twitch, on my channel. Let me just see whether she is. I don't know whether you watch her. She's called, her name, well, her username is Poikimane, right? Poikimane. And she does very entertaining broadcast on the game she loves the best. And, you know, a few years back she started broadcasting from her bedroom, and in November she was the celebrity doing the Game Awards, and she participated together with some of the top industry professionals there during the award ceremony. So it really goes to show that the quality content and the dedicated community could bring tremendous results. And I think she's quite a good example. I was really quite surprised to see her entering, you know, the stage there, and then giving a speech and presenting the award. I'm not sure exactly what award that was, but it was a part of Game Award ceremony in November. And as you know, Game Award ceremony this year grew exponentially. I think it was watched by 10 times bigger audiences than during the year before. So the capacity for growth is phenomenal, and the interest for Twitch streams and broadcasting overall is exponentially growing. So, and don't forget, this is all brand new. The vast majority of these successful streamers have not been doing it for that long on Twitch. There were some who were very successful gamers previously, and people who were entertaining major esports competitions, and therefore once they started streaming on Twitch, they basically brought in their community from elsewhere. So, you know, worth keeping that in mind. Because somebody who was a professional esports gamer and would have done it for quite a few years definitely would have built a very large community of followers, and then, you know, once streaming individually on Twitch, the community would just simply hop in and join. So there are different ways through which all of that can be done, you know. I was just looking at the incoming. I've received the friend request from Kiko Jossi, and thank you for that. I will accept that very shortly. And once I complete my broadcast, I will look into that. I can see that it's still standing in there, because on my display I can't easily access it whilst I'm broadcasting. I have several displays, but you know, I have to access it through my browser, and this till later on. Alright guys, let us see if anyone has any more questions which are Anthem related or anything else which you wish to discuss. I've been doing the broadcast and Q&A now for almost 3 hours. A bit longer than expected, but that's obviously thanks to the interesting content and the number of questions coming in from the community. I'm very, very grateful. So let's see if anyone has anything else to ask or any feedback which you wish to provide to myself personally, and also to BioWare, because the feedback will be sent to BioWare. I will report it as the overall feedback given to me on my channel, so that they could see that all of that would have come in through my public broadcasts and through the communication with various community members. Needless to say, they're always very keen on receiving feedback from broadcasters, because broadcasters branch out to many more people than others who would just simply send their individual comments and views. But all of them are equally important when you have a new game coming out, and the attention given to every single comment is considerable. Do not think that if you were not responded to within seconds that your message was ignored. Considering that 1 million stronghold missions were completed during the demoing, is just telling you how many people were actually doing it. And the stronghold mission was very difficult to complete, so I would assume that we talk about quite a few million people playing the demo worldwide, which is indeed very, very promising. All of those people would have bought the game and pre-ordered it, which means all of them might be facilitating some very, very good sales, which are going to be then released at a later date. We'll know exactly how many, copies were sold during the pre-release period compared to once the game indeed was fully released. Right, I didn't have any questions coming in related to Anthem, so I take it that we are all complete with our thoughts and views for today, for tonight. And Obsessed Pants says, really great discussion today. Well, thank you very much, sir, for your participation, for coming in. And there've been lots of requests coming in from various streamers and community members for me to be running a separate broadcast which is solely dedicated to broadcast and streaming. And I've still not been doing this because the channel has been in operation since September, I think. So we're talking about 4 to 5 months of broadcasting, and I've had a couple of lengthier breaks during that period as well. But that's the broadcasting on this channel compared to some of the other projects which I've had. And I think in due course, when the community grows and when we have lots of interesting issues coming in, then I'll set up a separate 1 hour a day Q&A session, and we'll be able to do all of that. And you'll be focused on whatever comes in, really. It could be game specific, could be channel with myself on this channel, and we'll be able to raise all the issues. But I quite like the fact that I get these discussions during my regular Destiny broadcast as well. So that's excellent, because people come in with their thoughts and views. In fact, I did have quite a few requests, people saying, could you help us out with our new channel, we'd like to know what to do, and all of this. And I can only speak from experience. You will not be given any advice which is acquired through various online forums. I can just tell you exactly how I've done it, what worked, what didn't, and what I believe is the best or the right way of doing it. And at the end of the day, there isn't just like one way of doing it, but there are certain rules and principles which I think, when upheld, really help any new streamer to progress more rapidly forward. So these are the things which I will always talk about here. And Obsessed Band says, yeah, I would be really interested in that. Well, I've had lots of requests, it's just a question of time and when I can fit it in. I'm working out a schedule now for Anthem and Destiny streams together. I had for quite a while morning and evening streams, and recently, due to my schedule, I've just resorted to the evening streams, which were fairly lengthy. We were talking up to sort of 7 or 8 hours of streaming, so they were not split into twos, and therefore I had no morning stream for obvious reason. But what I need to do still is to integrate my daily industry news. I had some technical problems with the news, and also because I can't be streaming the news through a separate channel, it's causing me some issues, because when we are streaming Anthem, it goes through Anthem channel. When we stream Destiny, so I have to work out a system through which I'll be able to stream the news through a specific channel, which is then being obviously picked up by the community members and viewers. Otherwise, it feels a bit like out in the cold, and people watch it then at a later stage through whatever is on YouTube, the archived broadcasts. And that is also to be brought back, because if you go back and you look through my YouTube archive, you'll see that I was having daily industry news sessions. They were usually, between 20 to 40 minutes long, and I think it is very important for that to be run on a daily basis. So I'm still working out the system through which this is going to be, made accessible. And I was a bit disappointed with the fact I couldn't really draft it through a specific channel. That's basically what the problem was. I have to work out through, I have to work out a system through which I will be able to get on some of the other non-gaming specific channels on Twitch if I'm streaming to the PlayStation. This is easier when you're doing it on your PC, but at the moment I'm doing everything to my PlayStation 4, and there's a reason for that as well, and therefore I feel a bit sort of restricted to a degree. but all of that will be brought back. It may well be that in very near future we will have maybe the gaming streams which are going to be a bit shorter, not massively shorter, just a bit shorter, in order to allocate a bit more time for the forums where we are going to be talking about broadcasting / streaming related issues, and also we'll be focusing on the industry news. The industry news are very, very important because you get to know first about everything that's happening out there, and frequently the news are related to some of the blockbusters and those beloved games we have. You will know that my community is consisting primarily of Destiny veterans and Destiny players, so I get lots of news on Destiny 1 and Destiny 2 at all times, particularly in Destiny 2 because we have the annual pass and the seasons being delivered presently as an experiment. And then, when you have the delivery of the news early in the day, anybody who's watching, anybody who wants to sort of, review it later, will get that information first. And that makes a big difference. I have a problem with some of the other online forums. Even on IGN, I find it difficult to find some of the broadcasting of the news as early as I want it to be, because they have quite a large selection of things coming in, and they select just a few. And my idea is to be doing, like you watch your BBC News. You have one slot of news a day. Listen to the World Service. You get your news, on a specific hour. And basically, the idea is to have the same sort of thing in here as well. All right. Obsessed Pan says you have a great understanding of good streaming. Well, thank you so much, sir, for that. I can only tell you that I appreciate your kind comments. And I can also tell you that overall, I always speak from experience. You will not have myself here talking about anything that I'm not knowledgeable on, or something which I have not tried personally myself. This would be consistently wrong. And, I'll engage with the subjects and the issues that I'm familiar with, and indeed the issues which are connected to what I've been doing, purely through my own projects and experience. And Obsessed Pan says, yeah, I'm following Fallout 76 survival development. Well, excellent. Fantastic. I think Fallout 76 is a massive game. One of our community members was telling me about it the other night. He was a bit put off by the technical problems during the first couple of weeks. But once all of those were resolved, he actually waited because he was getting annoyed with the glitches. But once those were resolved, he, played the game and loved it, and he's still doing it. And Obsessed Pan says, so far, 4 survival suits what I do better than survival beta. Well, it's very likely. It's very likely. I've not played Fallout 76 at all, and also I've not been looking at the demos and videos, so I wouldn't like to comment. I did see a lot of feedback both on social networking forums as well as through the mainstream video gaming press, and obviously understood what the difficulties were. In addition, they had a major promotional difficulty where everyone who ordered that special edition, the Ultimate Edition, was provided a product which was not as advertised, and that went down really badly with everyone. People were able to tolerate technical problems, but being provided a PVC bag instead of a canvas one was a very, very serious bone of contention, and people didn't like what Bethesda said. The first response was a bit, to a degree, dismissive, and very quickly they changed the approach and then decided that the canvas bag was to be provided. So they listened to the community. It's just that people were put off by the initial responses. I think the leaders of the teams were very stressed out due to the number of problems which were occurring, and I think that reflected through those initial responses. Because obviously, if you, let's say, I'll give you an example, Anthem and BioWare are advertising that founder member banner, and we're expecting that if we pre-ordered the Legion of Dawn edition, we are going to be getting that banner. So what would this be like if we purchase the game and then we do not get this banner? This would be unacceptable. And that's what happened with Fallout 76 to a degree. People did get the bag, but it was PVC rather than canvas bag, and canvas bag was very much blending in with the entire iconography of Fallout 76 and the survival and everything else, you know. And therefore that seemed really well, seemed to me like not enough attention was given to the core issue, and the core issue was linked basically with costs, because producing those separate canvas bags would have been a lot more expensive than doing the PVC ones. But you know, if you advertised the canvas bag to be a part of that box set and that special edition, then obviously exactly the same type of bag should have been provided to every single customer who pre-ordered that special edition. Just no way around to that, because otherwise it's fraudulent trading. And as you know, the companies could be obviously held to account, and there could be very many problems if that's not really immediately corrected. So Obsessed Pan says the game's not that good so far, and this is his opinion. And he said, well, I'm hoping the finished survival mode will be better, but not sure when that is going to be, because there is no confirmed release date. Well, let's wait and see. I always ask for a bit of patience, you know. We are living in the times where everything is resolved by text messages, which are received in theory instantly, and people got used to that. I remember the days where I had to be sending letters to go around the world, and you know, the letter would take a little while. So people want to have everything within seconds, and with these kinds of massive big projects, this is not always possible. And I think if the developer is wanting to resolve the problem, and they're, you know, putting all of their resources into that resolution, then that has to be respected. So some of the feedback which I've seen through Twitter on Anthem was infuriating, because, you know, the team there was trying to resolve the problems and they were failing. But the problems are going to be resolved. And indeed, if, for instance, they couldn't get something to work and people wanted the money back, the money will be given back. It's as simple as that. So Obsessed Man says, well, thank you for your good advice. Well, thank you, sir, for your participation. Thank you for your comments and views. Really appreciated you coming here and joining our community. If you come back to our Destiny streams, you'll see that other people are here as well, and we are always having a lot of interesting content. We talk about everything. Presently on Destiny, I am finalizing on my third character. This character is Titan, and I'm playing some of the story missions because I was able to raise his level from 1 to 40 right at the beginning, because I had a special item which was allowing this, and then I was able to use my special weapons from the vault, and therefore he was really, really mighty right from the word go, and that really helped. So I'm just literally walking through the story missions with ease, because I'm, you know, overpowered really for some of them, and in possession of very good kit and weapons. And I'm going to continue with my Destiny stream within the next 5 minutes. So this stream will be ending, this broadcast will be ending very shortly, and then I will resume with my Destiny World, and we will have a couple of hours of Destiny World tonight as well. So thank you everyone for coming, thank you for participating, thank you for being members of our new Anthem community, also for joining my broadcast and being my members here. All of the feedback which I've heard, which is Anthem related, I will feed back to BioWare, and this will come in a kind of a joint comment email, which will comprise all the views received during the whole week. I, in fact, will be also waiting for some feedback after the next week, so all of that will be going in as the demo is kind of fully finished, because we are not going to be demoing anymore after Sunday. And everything experienced and said perhaps would be the best viewed at the end of next week, or halfway through next week, once the emotions and the gameplay experiences would have been fully set in. So, thank you for coming, thank you for watching my broadcast. I'm very grateful for your participation, for being my community members. Hope you enjoyed the content, hope you enjoyed also the comments and views of other community members here. And I will be now continuing with my Destiny broadcast, so please, if you are here, do join in and have a look, see what our Destiny world community is about. And on that note, I would wish you all a very, very good night. And also I would ask you to come back tomorrow when another feedback session is going to be held, and you'll be able to join other Anthem community members with your comments and views and participate with your opinions and expression of everything which you desire as far as it is Anthem. And I wish you all a very, very good night.